furious at being written out of the up-and-coming youth games. I was simmering with tension by the time I made it home this afternoon to a thankfully empty house. Mam was going to Dublin to spend the weekend with my father, so I didn't have to face the parental third degree for a few days. I wanted to cry. I wouldn't, but I fucking wanted to. I should have worked through the pain. I should have never have taken that fucking surgery. If I hadn't, I'd still be in with a chance of making the starting team for the under-20s European campaign in June. Under-20s was a big jump from the under-18s, and I was on a goddamn track to make the jump. Not now. If I couldn't get my shit together, nobody would want me. Not with a broken body. I spent the rest of the afternoon in my home gym, working my body to the bone, desperate to erase the god-awful feeling of despair that was threatening to take a hold of me. This last setback was a cherry on top of the year from hell. To be honest, I was regretting coming back to school after Christmas break. I should have stayed in my goddamn bed and had my mother write 3 months' worth of sick notes or some shite. Everything had gone to hell for me since then. My body, my brain, my train of thought. I was all over the place. In the middle of my personal breakdown, my mind continued to focus on one person I needed not to think about. Shannon liked the river with those midnight blue eyes. "You've got the problem, Kavanagh, and I'm staging an intervention." Gibbs's voice perforated my thoughts, causing me to momentarily lose focus and almost poleaxe myself with a 280-pound barbell. "Christ!" I strangled out, locking my muscles into place just in time to save myself from certain choking. "Don't sneak up on me like that. You bleeding needs you." I looked up from my perch to find my best friend standing in the doorway of my garage. "I could have killed myself." "Yeah, you could have." Unfolding his arms, Gibbsy walked over to where I was and grabbed the bar. Setting it down, he reached for a towel on the stand and dropped it on my chest before saying, "Don't do this alone again." He pointed to the stacked barbell, expression disapproving. "It's highly irresponsible." Sagging, I dropped my head back down on the bench and dragged a few ragged breaths before attempting to speak. "You're giving me a lecture on responsibility?" Exhaling a breathless laugh. I grabbed the towel off my chest and patted myself down. "Jesus, the hypocrite in you is ripe today, lad. Don't try to throw me off my mission with your shite banter." He shot back. "I've got plans for you." "Don't know what you're going on about, Gibbs." Pulling myself into a sitting position, I took another few steadying breaths before climbing to my feet. "But whatever it is, I'm not in the farm." "Be that as it may," Gibbsy countered, happily. "We're still going out." He followed me over to the fridge in the corner of my home gym and swiped a can of Coke. "So, go take a shit, a shower, and have a shave because the lads are meeting us in Biddy's at 8:30. Uncorking the lid of the bottle of water, I drained the contents before replying. "No," I breathed, drenched in sweat and feeling like shite. "We're not." Liam had phoned me no less than 3 times yesterday to try and smooth me over, so that wasn't the reason I didn't want to go out. My issue was that I was close to my breaking point. I was one conversation away from losing my goddamn mind. "We fucking are," Gibbsy countered. "I got your text about your coaching sending you home today, and I had to be honest with you, lad. I'm relieved that you're starting to see through your bullshit." "I'm fine. It doesn't hurt, charade." "Whoa." I arched a brow. "Thanks a lot, friend." Don't give me that shit," Gibbsy shot back. "You know I want you to get on the team in June more than anyone, but not at the risk of your permanent damage." He shook his head. "It's too high a price to pay." "You don't get it," I mumbled, regretting the venting text I sent to him earlier. "No, in all honesty, I probably don't get it," Gibbsy replied. "I've never been invested in anything like you are with rugby, But I see what you're doing to yourself. I see that, Johnny. Yeah, well, I grumbled. Unless I can pull off a miracle and get my shit together, it's all in the can. Which is exactly why you're coming out with me, he argued. You need to kick back and take your mind off rugby. Grinning, he pointed to himself and said, And what better man to help you do that? I don't know, Gibbs. Tossing the empty bottle in the nearby bin, I ran my hand through my hair and sighed. I'm fairly wrecked. That was the truth. Exhaustion was a norm for me, and especially lately, I was sore as shit, and this wasn't helping my bad mood. I'm just probably going to pass out in front of the telly for the night. You're a fucking robot is what you are, Gibbsy retorted. Well, not tonight. Clamping my hand on my shoulder, he nudged me towards the opening garage door. You'll have no early morning sessions tomorrow, or any of that academy bullshit, to stop you from enjoying an out with your buddies. I allowed him to walk me outside for one singular reason. I was too tired to dig my heels in. Tonight, we're going on the piss, lad. He squeezed my shoulder for emphasis and steered me in the direction of my house. You're going to be human. Tomorrow you can go right back to your old robotic, dull as dishwater self. I'm too sore, I grumbled. Of course you are, he shot back. You're not giving your body time to repair itself. You never bloody rest, and you haven't had pussy in months. Winking, he added, It's time to take your balls off ice and put your shifting jacket on. My shifting jacket? A smile cracked through my bad mood. What are we? 13 again, and heading to the underage disco? I'm wearing my shifting t-shirt, he replied proudly, flexing his biceps for emphasis. It has 100% success rate. I cocked a brow. Probably because the tag on the back of it says it's for ages 12 to 13. Here now, Gibbsy grinned widely. Don't be jealous of my spectacular form. Your spectacular bullshit, more like. Shaking off his hand when we reached the back door, I pushed it open and stepped aside for him to pass, and then headed for my favourite part of the house, the fridge. That's the plan, Gibbsy stated, trespassing through my kitchen like it was his own, and it might as well have been for the amount of time he spent there. He strolled over to the cupboards and grabbed a slice of pan and a knife from the drawer before pulling a stool out from the centre aisle and sinking down. And you're not giving me any bullshit excuses tonight. Who's going? Hughie and Kate are meeting us below. He paused and then said, And Pierce and Feely might show their faces. Are any of the girls from school going? Katie, Gibbsy shot back in a duh tone of voice. Aside from Katie, I snapped. Katie was a given. Hughie rarely left the girl's side. No, Gibbsy frowned at me. Why would there be? I levelled him with the what the fuck expression. Because they always fucking show up. Doesn't matter if they show up. I'm not in the mood to be dealing with them. You mean you're not in the mood to be dealing with the crazy one? Gibbsy corrected with a grimace. No, I'm not, I replied, rummaging in the fridge. I'm not dealing with her this weekend. With my arms laden down with sandwich supplies, I walked over to the island and tossed them down on the black marble countertop. I need a break, Gibbs. Gibbsy shook his head and reached for the bread. What happened? Snatching up a knife and the packet of cooked ham, he asked. Is she contacting you again? When isn't she contacting me? I bit out as I slowly chopped a tomato. It's a constant stream of texts and phone calls. All the damn time. I stopped reading Bella's messages a week ago. But it still drove me batshit whenever the phone lit up because 9 times out of 10 it was her on the other line. You must be fucking amazing in bed, Gibbsy mused, if she's haunting you down like this. Not the point, Gibbs, I growled. No means no, lad. You can change your number, he offered. What's the point? I grumbled. She'll just find a way to get my new one. I know, I'm always saying it, But I really have to say it one more time, lad. Slathering 2 slices of bread with butter. Gibbsy layered on the cheese, dumped half a dozen slices of meat on top, and then proceeded to fold his sandwich in half and stuff it in his mouth before continuing. I do not know how you ever put your dick inside that girl. I lost my bleeding mind, I bit out, focusing way too hard on spreading the butter evenly on my slice. That's how. You can say that again, Gibbsy shot back, making himself another sandwich. You were blinded by the big tits, he added, between huge mouthfuls of ham and cheese. And posh pussy? Yeah. Tossing the knife down on the counter, I layered my bread evenly with slices of tomato, and then added some fresh chicken pieces before folding it over. Well, I'm not blinded anymore. Picked up my sandwich, took a huge bite, chewing and swallowing before adding. I'm seeing everything clearly now. You need to get yourself a girlfriend, lad, Gibbsy declared. It's the only way you're going to shake Bella off. I don't want to get a girlfriend, I bit out. I'm too fucking busy for a girlfriend, Gibbsy. You know this. Even little Shannon? He tossed out with a grin. My heart leapt in my chest at the sound of her name. Christ. What did I tell you about her? I snapped, tossing the remainder of my sandwich on the plate. Appetite gone. What in the bleeding hell have I been saying to you for the last 2 months? It's not what you're saying, he replied with a snicker. It's how you're acting. I'm not going there, I growled. I've said it 100 fucking times. And you can say it 100 more, Gibbsy shot back with a laugh. And I still won't believe you. Jesus Christ. You like the girl? He continued to taunt. Maybe you even love. If I agree to go to biddies, will you stop talking about it? I asked, desperate to stop him before he went into full-fledged Gibbsy mode and drove me insane. Will you let this drop? My best friend nodded, eagerly. Absolutely. Fine. I sighed in defeat and moved for the door. I'll grab a shower. Good man, Gibbsy called after me. I'll phone for a taxi for us. I swung back to face him. I can drive us. No, you can't, Gibbsy interrupted, holding his phone to his ear. We're going on the lash, both of us. Shoulders sagging, I turned and made my way to my room. Fucking Gibbsy.
Chapter 30. We'll manage. Shannon. How's the face, Shan? Joey asked when I walked into the kitchen a little after midnight. He and Aoife were sitting at the table with coffee mugs in front of them and wore matching looks of concern. Jesus, he muttered, flinching at the sight of me. I'm okay, Joe. I forced a smile to comfort him. It looks worse than it feels. That was a lie. My face was killing me. Every inch of my body was in agony. I was black and blue from head to toe. Thankfully, the only visible evidence of last night was a small shiner on my cheekbone. It was the rest of my body that had taken the brunt of his fury. My only saving grace was it was cold out, and I could hide my bruises with baggy sweatpants and long-sleeved shirts. My lie didn't seem to comfort my brother, though. He just stared back at me, looking broken and defeated. I'm so fucking sorry, Shan. My brother choked out, dropping his head in his hands. I should have been here. Joey had gone to the cinema with Aoife last night, and I was glad. Had he been here, I knew in my heart that someone would have left this house in a body bag. It's not your fault, I told him sharply. None of what happened last night was your fault. You're entitled to have a life, Joey. Did you manage to get Sean to go to sleep? Aoife asked, smiling sadly at me as she thankfully changed the subject. Finally, I sighed heavily. Tig and Ollie are out for the count. But Sean, God, he's in an awful way over Mam. I tucked my frazzled hair behind my ears and leaned against the kitchen counter. He was sobbing his heart out for hours. He ended up crying himself to sleep. fucking cunts, Joey muttered beneath his breath. Joey, Aoife coaxed. Don't say that. Say what, babe? He countered hotly. The truth? Because that's what they are, a pack of fucking cunts. She's still your mother, Aoife replied sadly. And she's worse than him, my brother shot back, leaving those kids here on their own. He ran a hand through his blonde hair and growled. She could pick up the phone and talk to the boys, but no. Like always, she runs and buries her head in the sand. Unlike Aoife, I didn't flinch at my brother's words. They might be hard to hear, but they held nothing but the truth. Joey's girlfriend was absolutely stunning, with an envious figure, long blonde hair and a beautiful face, but tonight she looked shook. Aoife was in love with my brother, so I guess that explained the horrified look on her face and the way she constantly stroked her fingers over the back of his hand. Let's see what we're dealing with, Joey said with a sigh. Reaching into his jeans pocket, he pulled out his wallet, tossed it on the table, and then went back for the loose change rattling around in his jeans. I don't get paid again until next Thursday, he muttered more to himself than us as he tipped the contents of his wallet on the table and began to count, which leaves us with exactly... He paused to stack a few coins. €87.30 for the next 6 days. That's good, right? Aoife offered with forced optimism. Joey nodded cautiously. It should work. You know, I'd help if I could, I croaked out, feeling like a dead weight around my brother's neck. But he won't let me get a job. Stop, Joey commanded. Don't even think about taking on blame for this, Shan. But I did. I felt incredibly guilty. There was something about me that caused all this pain. If I wasn't in this house, I was fairly sure my family wouldn't have half the problems they had. Mam took a beating from my father because of me. Because he hated me. I was the problem. Joey exhaled heavily. Check the fridge for me. Reluctantly, I did as I was told. Yanking the fridge open, I held the door out for Joey to see for himself. Fucking cunts! He growled once more, taken in the sight of the almost bare shelves inside the fridge. The cupboards are the same, I decided to fill in before he asked me to open those too. Mam usually does the shopping on a Saturday. Usually, Joey tossed out bitterly. She wouldn't leave like this, Joe, I whispered. She'd never leave us without the shopping. Well, she did, he snapped. And it's grand, Shan. We'll manage. Okay, I croaked out. Running a hand through his hair, Joey dropped his elbows on the table and muttered a few incoherent curse words to himself before saying, I'll give Mark a buzz in the morning. He has a conservatory job lined up in the city next week. I'll ask if he needs a labourer. No way, Joey, you cannot miss school, Aoife admonished. It's the leaving cert. No, babe, Joey replied wearily. I can't let the kids go hungry, and God only knows when that bitch will come back. I can help you with I am not taking your money, Aoife, Joey cut her off by saying, so please don't offer. Joey, I want to help you, and I love you for that, but I'm not taking handouts from my girlfriend. Do you know where she is? Aoife asked then, directing the question at me. She was clearly desperate to comfort him and didn't know how. I wanted to tell her she couldn't. We were too damaged, but I held my tongue and addressed her question instead. I presume she's gone to find him. It was a depressing thought, but more than likely the truth. Guys, Aoife said in a nervous tone, don't bite my head off for this, but you should think about calling the authorities. Joey gaped at her like she had grown 3 heads. Panic flared up inside of my chest. Aoife, noticing our reactions, turned bright red. He can't keep doing this to you, she quickly explained, and you're both here alone looking after 3 small children. It's not right or fair on any of you. No, it's not right or fair on us, Joey snapped. But Shannon and I have been down that road before, and there's no fucking way we're going back there. Joey, I hissed, shaking my head. Look at us, Shan, he groaned. She can already see how fucked up we are. I knew that, but I continued to shake my head. Ignoring my silent protests, Joey went into a full-on rant, revealing our biggest fear, the one that kept us silent for most of our lives. When we were small, before the boys were born, when it was just Darren, Shannon, and myself, the three of us were put into care for 6 months. Aoife's eyes widened and I smothered a groan. You never told me that. It's not something I go around talking about, babe, he replied gruffly. Besides, I was only 6 at the time. He inclined his head towards me and said, Shan was only 3. Mam placed us in voluntary care, said she was too sick to care for us at the time. Dropped us off and walked the fuck away. Shannon and I got lucky. We were placed together with a nice family. Exhaling heavily, he added, Darren was 11 at the time. I wasn't so lucky. Tears filled my eyes because I knew what Joey was going to say next. Joey, please don't, I begged. He was sent to a care home where things happened to him. Joey choked out. Things that aren't supposed to happen to children. Aoife clasped her hand over her mouth. Are you saying... Joey nodded stiffly. Tears filled her eyes. Oh, baby. Don't, he whispered, shaking his head. It didn't happen to me. I know, Aoife choked out, reaching for his hand. It's awful. Anyway, when Mam's health improved, she went to court and managed to get us back. He quickly hurried on. It all came out in court about what happened in that care home, and because she'd voluntarily given us up because of health problems, she was somehow rewarded custody. Joey stared down at their joined hands for a long moment before continuing. Darren was never the same again, and neither was our father. Sighing wearily, he added, He actually wasn't too bad a guy before that. But after it all came out about Darren, the old man lost his fucking mind. He couldn't get over it and turned to the drink. Got this ridiculous fucking notion in his head that what had happened to Darren had somehow turned him. Joey shook his head and released a frustrated breath. Had he paid an ounce of fucking attention to us growing up, he would have known better. I don't know what to say, Aoife whispered, gaze flickering from me to Joey. It's not right what happens in this house, but it's better than what's out there in some of those homes, Joey stated. There's no fucking way I'm letting my sister and brothers go into care, babe. No goddamn way. At least when they're here, they're all in one place and I can keep them somewhat safe. Do you guys have someone you can call? She asked, eyes laced with concern. A relative or a family friend? Nanny is 81, I whispered, wiping my tears away. She's too old and fragile to... Myself and Shannon have each other. Joey interrupted, gesturing a finger between us. That's it. Not anymore, Aoife told my brother. You have me. Reaching across the table, she covered his hand with hers and smiled weakly. All of you. Joey's shoulders visibly sagged as she snatched her hand up and pressed his lips to her knuckles. Christ, I love you, he told her, voice low and gruff. I turned away because it was too hard to watch. I loved Aoife Malloy. I truly loved the girl as a sister. But I also resented her, because I knew exactly how appealing unconditional love, affection and security was to someone like Joey. It was the same for me. And because I knew in my heart and soul exactly how this would pan out. From her, Joey was receiving a form of love he'd been denied his whole life. And if that girl jumped, he would jump right along with her. I wouldn't blame him. Given the chance, I would jump too. But knowing that his time in this house was coming to an end made it hard for me to breathe. I could feel it coming down the tracks like a freight train. Our father would come back. He always came back. And I honestly couldn't see my brother sticking around once he did. He'd taken 18 years of beatings and abuse. I wasn't sure if you could take much more. Okay. Aoife clapped her hands together and stood up. Sniffling, she wiped the tears from her cheeks away and forced a bright smile. I am starving, and I know you both must be too. So, I'm going to make food run to the chipper, and it will be my treat. Joey shook his head. Aoife, I told you, my treat, babe. She interrupted, giving my brother a hard look. Now, are you coming with me? Yeah, I'll come, Joey muttered, climbing to his feet. You're not driving around the town in the middle of the night by yourself. Will you be okay on your own, Shan? Aoife asked, smiling sadly. I nodded. I'll be okay. What would you like to eat? Oh, nothing, thanks, I replied, forcing down a yawn. I'm going to head up to bed. Don't tell me you're as stubborn as your brother and won't take a bloody bag of chips, Aoife frowned. You're too skinny, girl, she added, concern laced in her eyes again. We need to put some meat on those bones. I smiled at her flustered expression. I'm honestly too tired to eat. If you're sure. She didn't sound convinced. I am. We won't be long, Shan, Joey called over his shoulder as he led Aoife out of the kitchen. Take your time, I called back. The boys are fine and I'll be in bed. I waited until I heard the key turn in the lock before tiptoeing up to bed. Slipping inside my bedroom, I didn't bother switching on the light. I wasn't lying when I said I was tired. Crawling up my bed, I shuffled under the duvet and snuggled up, knowing that I would sleep better tonight now that my parents were gone than I had in months. That's how messed up my life was.
Chapter 31. Bitchy girls and burger breath. Johnny. The minute I stepped foot inside Biddy's, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. Scratch that. The minute I let Gibbsy open that bottle of my dad's whiskey, I knew I had made a terrible mistake. After my shower, I tried to persuade him to have a few drinks at home with me instead of going out. But whiskey made me compliant. It turned me into a agreeable bleeding idiot, which was exactly how Gibbsy had managed to coax me out of my bad mood into what he called my shifting jacket and into the passenger seat of his car. I should have known better when he wasn't drinking with me. Fucker. Drip feeding me Jamesons was the reason I was currently standing in the doorway at Biddy's bar, 3 drinks past tipsy, and wishing I was anywhere but this goddamn pub. Not only were half the girls from 6th year there, but so was Bella. The minute Bella noticed us, she caught a hold of a nervous-looking Cormac and welded her face to his. Whatever semblance of enthusiasm I had churning up for tonight, being a bit of crack, had flown out the window at the sight of her. Not so much because she was scoring McCormick in front of me, though that didn't help, but because I was still peppering with anger over the way she carried on at school yesterday. All I wanted her to do was go away. Just go away and leave me alone. In all honesty, I didn't think that was too much to ask for. Ignore them, Gibbsy muttered in my ear. Kinda hard, all things considered, I shot back, gesturing to where my former, whatever the hell she was, mauled the face off my winger less than 10 feet from me. I instantly felt my brain kick to life and start the sobering up process, because I knew exactly how dangerous this girl was, and damn it, I needed to be in my full senses to defend myself. Understandable, Gibbs said in agreement. At least you know the show's for your benefit. I don't want it to be for my benefit. I want her to fuck off, I growled, repressing a shudder at the sight. Please tell me that I never carried on like that with her. Well, I don't know how you carried on behind closed doors, Gibbs replied. But you never let yourself down like that in public. Thank Christ, I muttered. Come on, Johnny, clamping my hand on my shoulder. Gibbsy steered me towards the table he usually sat at. Sit down. I'll get around the pints in. Vodka, Gibbs, I corrected, knowing I was going to need something a hell of a lot stronger than the beer that was on tap to get through the night. A double vodka and Red Bull, and a shitload of shots. Fuck getting sober. I was going all out. Gibbsy could take care of me for once. I'm on it, buddy. Gibbsy chuckled before disappearing into the crowd. Ignoring the table of girls from school who had conveniently positioned themselves at the table next to ours, a table that included Bella and Cormac, I slumped down beside Hughie and his girlfriend Katie Wilmot. Hughie, I muttered, by way of acknowledgement. I eyed the bottle of 7-Up with a straw sticking out the rim that Hughie's girlfriend was clutching, and my lips twitched. All right, Cap, Hughie acknowledged with a loose smile. How was training? I grunted a response, too sore and uncomfortable to make an effort to lie. It was shite. Everything was shite. My world was going to shite. And tonight's spectacle was the cherry to top it all off. Healy coming tonight? Hughie shook his head. Nah, lad. Something came up. No surprise there, I replied knowingly. You're telling me, Hughie replied with a weary sigh. Patrick was a quiet fish. Even though we'd been friends for the bones of 7 years, I didn't know a great deal about him, aside from the fact he was evasive, quiet, and had a tendency to back out of plans at the last minute. After catching up with Hughie, I inclined my head to the pretty little redhead tucked into his side. Katie? Hi, Johnny, Katie said with a shy smile as she huddled under Hughie's arm. No fucking wonder you're huddling, I thought to myself. I'd huddle too if I was a shy 16-year-old girl being subjected to a horrendous mouth fucking at the other table. Katie was too young to be in a bar. We all were, but kudos to my friend for having the decency to not fill her up with booze. Not that I thought for 1 minute that he would. For some unknown reason, Hughie was obsessed with the tiny redhead under his arm. Had been since she walked through the doors of Tommen as a fresh-faced first year. We had been in second year when Hughie threw his cards in with Katie Wilmot. At the time, I, along with every other one of our friends and teammates, had thought Hughie was a lunatic and had voiced my thoughts aloud regularly. But now that I had aged and experience on my side, I had to admit that his situation seemed a hell of a lot more appealing than mine. Devotion had to feel better than being used did. You're looking well tonight, Katie, I told her, because it was the truth, and she was insecure. I knew this tidbit of information because her boyfriend often confided in me about their relationship. I probably knew far more about their relationship than Katie would be comfortable with, but I'd take those details to the grave. Katie smiled shyly and snuggled closer into Hughie's side. Thanks. Hughie shot me a grateful look. He didn't need to thank me for shit. His girlfriend was beautiful. Gibbsy rounded the table a few moments later, distracting me with a tray of laden down with glasses. Bottoms up, Cap, he announced, slapping the tray down in front of me. Cheers. Not bothering to ask what was on offer tonight, knowing I'd drink petrol with the mood I was in. I grabbed 2 shots off the tray and tossed them back, and then, for good measure, I threw back another 4 shots before settling my vodka and Red Bull. I needed it, because watching the floor show occurring at the table next to ours wasn't fun. From where I was sitting, I had the perfect view of Bella straddling Cormac. He had his hands under her skirt, and her legs were wrapped round his waist. They might as well have been naked and shagging, there being that bleeding obvious. Propping himself on the stool in front of me, Gibbs thankfully blocked my view. "I'm prettier to look at," he announced with a wink, and then proceeded to toss back shots like they were going out of fashion. I could always depend on this fucker. Hail, rain, or snow, Gibbsy had my back. That was a comforting notion. "Ryan's a clown," Hughie, reading my thoughts, stated aloud. "He's doing this on purpose to get her eyes out of you, and he's letting her use him to do it." "You had a lucky escape, Johnny," Katie agreed with a sympathetic smile. I shrugged and reached for another shot. She can do whatever she wants. Pressing the glass to my lips, I tossed the drink back and swallowed quickly. They both can. I meant it. I didn't want her back. I would never go back there. But that didn't mean that it was easy to watch, because it wasn't. It was an intentional attack, and it stung. Mostly because Cormac was going along with it. "Yeah, but rub it into your face like this is disgusting," Katie replied, frowning at the pair. "If the shoe was on the other foot, and you did that with one of Bella's friends right in front of her, she'd lose it." "True," both Gibbs and Hughie agreed in unison. For the next couple of hours, I ignored Bella and Cormac, focusing my attention on my friends and the live band playing in the corner of the bar. I tried to relax and let loose by joining in on the conversation while necking back drink after drink. But it wasn't coming easy to me. I was too stressed. When I wasn't actively trying to avoid Bella and Cormac, my mind wandered back to the niggling concern that I tried so hard not to dwell on. My health. Problem was, the alcohol flushing through my veins was making it impossible for me to block out my fears. What if I couldn't get my shit together? What if my body didn't heal? What the fuck was I supposed to do with my life? Every theoretical egg I'd ever possessed was firmly nestled in the basket labelled "Career in Rugby." Right now, that basket was toppling, and I was powerless to stop it. In other words, I was completely helpless and utterly screwed. "Okay, folks, this next song is from Reckless Kelly," the lead singer announced over the microphone. Distracting me from my drunken thoughts, he strummed on his guitar and then added, "Wicked Twisted Road." Leaning forward, I placed my elbows on the table and strained to hear the lyrics over the noise of the crowd. One verse in, and I was hooked. Drunk as I was, I knew I needed to remember it. I needed to hear it again. The words were shouting straight through me. I felt them hard and deep, relating something fierce to every line of every verse. Unsurprising, but still completely messed up. It was Shannon's face that flirted through my mind as the lyrics forced their way into my sluggish brain. Shannon with lonesome eyes, a lifetime of striving to be the best, the fear of not being good enough, and the constant sinking feeling of dread in the pit of my stomach. Dragging my phone out of my jeans pocket, I tapped out a quick text, hoping I was typing the name of the song properly before exiting my messages, leaving the text in my drafts. With my phone in my hands, I pondered about what I would do if I had Shannon's phone number. It was good that I didn't have it. Never in my life had I been partial to drunk dialing, but right now I had a burning urge to dial her absent number. Would she pick up the phone? If she did, what would I say? Would she talk to me? Fuck, I wanted to hear her voice on the other side of the line. "This girl is different," my stupid fucking brain chanted. "This one is for keeps." I wanted to be back in my room, with my phone pressed to my ear, listening to her stumble over her words as she told me every one of her thoughts. I wanted to be back here with her, watching her blush and smile and pick up at me through those long, thick lashes. I wanted to be sitting in a dark cinema with her, not paying an ounce of attention to the film showing, while I stole a secret glances at her and burned in heat when I found her eyes on me. I just wanted her. You could love this girl your whole life. The crazy thought persisted inside my brain over and over. If you just let yourself. A sharp elbow to my ribs had my head snapping up. The fuck? I turned my glare on Hughie, annoyed to be distracted from my happy place. What was that made of? We have company, he muttered, inclining his head. Oh God, here we go, Katie mumbled under her breath. Bleary-eyed, I followed his move, my gaze landing on Cormac Ryan, just as he rounded our table, face flushed and lipstick smeared across his mouth. Hot on his heels was a smug-looking Bella. All right, lads, Cormac acknowledged, shoving his hand into his pockets. Hey, how's it going? Leaning back in my seat. I gave them both an impassive look. Hughie gave Cormac a stiff nod but made no move to enter into small talk with him. Katie didn't even look at him. Gibbsy was looking at him, a murderous expression replacing his usual lopsided grin. Johnny? Cormac's weary gaze landed on me. Can I have a word, lad? I took my time, looking him up and down before settling on him. If that's what you want to talk to me about. I gestured to Bella, who was standing behind him with a smirk on her face. Then there's no need. Your actions spoke clearly for you tonight. Listen, Johnny. I don't want any trouble, Cormac replied, running his frustrated hand through his black hair. All I want to do is clear the air and make sure there's no hard feelings between us. Shrugging, he added, we had to play together, and I don't want any bad blood. The window of time to talk to me about this was months ago, I replied in a flat tone. And considering we were playing together when you decided to fuck me over, I find that hard to believe. It wasn't like that, lad, Cormac countered, flustered. I thought you two were off at the time. I honestly don't care, I told him. As far as I'm concerned, she's your problem now. Johnny, come on. Now, off you go, I interrupted, waving him off. And good luck with that. I shot Bella a scathing look. Because you're going to need it. That? Bella spat. Who the hell do you think you are talking about, Johnny Kavanagh? I'm talking about you, I shot back with a sneer. And I'm wondering what the hell possessed me to ever put my dick inside something so fucking poisonous. A chorus of snickering erupted around the table next to us. Gibbsy laughed loudly. So did Hughie and Katie. I would have felt bad for the moment, but the alcohol flushing through my veins was like truth potion. Yeah, well, you were total shit, Bella screamed at me. And I'll never touch you again. Praise fucking Jesus, I shot back sarcastically. That's the best news I've heard all year. Hey, don't be like that, Cormac warned, taking a protective stance in front of her. Bella's my girlfriend now, and I won't have you talking to her like that. I arched a brow. Your girlfriend? That's right, Bella hissed, smirking. I'm his girlfriend. Oh, Christ. I rubbed a hand over my face and groaned. I almost felt sorry for you, Ryan, because you clearly have no idea of who you're dealing with. I know exactly who you are, Kavanagh, he snarled. I know all about you. Not me, asshole, I growled. Whore. Cormac glared at me, face turning bright red. What's that supposed to mean? It means Keep an eye on your teammates, lad, I shot back, because that one's not girlfriend material. His eyes narrowed. Well, come outside and say that to my face. I'm saying it right here. I, deadpanned. To your face. With a table in front of you, and your friends at your side. He taunted. Big man, you are. Come outside and talk shit about her to my face. No, Gibbsy replied for me, reaching for another shot glass. Not happening. So you can keep walking, turncoat, because he's not biting. Shag off, Gibbs. Cormac glared down at him. I wasn't talking to you. Maybe not, Gibbs replied, tossing his drink back. But I'm sure as hell talking to you. Shoving his stool back, he jerked to his feet and squared to Cormac. Now turn your ass round and take your little girlfriend back to the hole you both crawled out from. Or what? Cormac growled, pressing his forehead against Gibbsy's. Bad fucking move on Ryan's part. There's no contract hanging over my head like there is his, asshole. Gibbsy seethed, pushing back with his forehead. I have no fucking problem stepping in on Kavanagh's behalf and kicking the ever-loving shite out of your turncoat ass. At 6 feet, both lads were evenly matched in height. But Gibbsy outweighed Cormac by a good 30 pounds because on the pitch, Cormac was a skilled runner and Gibbs was a highly charged battering ram. Oh, for fuck's sake, Hughie groaned, voicing my thoughts aloud. He had to push it. Yep, Katie agreed glumly. He sure did. Gibbsy had an easy-going nature, but give him a few drinks and a reason to fight, and he went all in. I've got no problem with you, Gibbsy, Cormac barked. My issues with Kavanagh. But that's too bad, because I have a huge fucking problem with you, Gibbsy snarled. Who the fuck do you think you are? Coming over here, with her, trying to cause drama. I was trying to clear the air, Gibbsy bit out, jaw clenched. No, you were trying to get a rise out of him, Gibbsy corrected, snarling. You were trying to fuck up a season. He shoved Cormac in the chest and claimed the space when he staggered backwards. Because you're jealous, little prick, and the academy doesn't want you. Push me one more time, and I'll break your legs, Cormac snarled, shoving Gibbsy right back. Unfazed by the threat, Gibbsy continued on his rampage. You and that bitch were trying to get one over on him because he doesn't want her, and you can't do it where it counts. Pressing his forehead to Cormac's, he hissed, On the pitch. We don't want any trouble in here tonight, boys. The barmaid called out over the crowd. Pack it in. Trouble? Gibbsy laughed humorously, and he swung his fist, catching Cormac straight in the jaw. I'm going to rip this fucker's head off, he roared, barreling into him. Several high-pitched screams erupted from the girls around us as both lads landed on a nearby table, sending chairs flying and glasses crashing to the floor. I was out of my seat, closing in on my friend in seconds. Gibbs, I roared, dragging him off Cormac, who was getting a few punches of his own in. Walk away, lad, I commanded in a low tone as I clamped a hand on his shoulder and pulled him back to me. This isn't your fight. Like hell it's not, he snarled, lunging forward so hard that I had to double my efforts to keep him at bay. You're my best friend, and this prick has been disrespecting you for months. Let them, I replied calmly, catching Hughie's eye and gesturing for him to get his arse over here pronto. I don't care, and neither do you. Oh, I care, Gibbsy snarled, his eyes locked on Cormac. Get this mental case away from me. I'll kill him. Cormac seethed, wiping a trail of blood from his mouth. You're a fucking lunatic, Jared Gibson. He'll do nothing, I snarled, glaring at Cormac as I took a protective stance in front of Gibbsy. Bella, who'd been screaming her head off to the side, decided this was the perfect time to slip round me and get in Gibbsy's face. You prick, she screamed, slapping him across the face. Don't you dare touch him. Get out of his face, I warned her, shoving my best friend behind me. Now. Or what? she hissed, slapping me across the face. You'll set your guard dog on me too. Did you enjoy that? I seethed, not even flinching. 'Cause that's the only way you'll put your hands on me again. She reared back and slapped me again. I laughed into her face. Go on, go right ahead. Hit me all night. It won't change a thing. Stop, Cormac commanded, pushing her behind his back. And don't hit him. He deserves it, she screamed. Because I don't want you. I tossed back and laughed. Oh yeah, because that's how life works. Don't make me call the guard on you, the older woman behind the bar screeched. Pack it in, you little gobshites. No need for that, Max, Hughie announced, scrambling to intercept Gibbs's swinging fist with his hand. Get him out of here, I ordered, dragging Gibbsy back once more. Your place? Hughie asked. Anywhere. I ran a hand through my hair in exasperation. Just keep him safe. Hughie nodded and turned his attention to Gibbsy. Let's go, Rocky Balboa, he said brightly, before you get us all thrown in the barrack for the night. He asked for it, Gibbsy slared. Piece of shit. I know, lad, Hughie coaxed. Come on. Wrapping his body around Gibbsy, he forcefully walked him backwards out of the bar. You coming, Johnny? Katie asked, glancing nervously between me and Cormac. I'll be grand, I told her, and turned my attention to Cormac. Are you sure? Katie persisted. You should come with us. Go ahead, Katie, I ordered, swinging round to catch her eye. I'll make my own way home. Well, if you're sure. I am. I waited until Katie had followed Hughie and Gibbsy out of the bar before turning my attention back to Cormac. You want to talk to me? I snarled, gesturing towards the door. Then let's go. Not waiting for a response, I pushed my way through the crowded bar towards the exit, receiving several claps on the shoulders and great match, Johnny, and looking forward to seeing you in the green in June spiels as I tried my best to walk straight line. Doubtful, I thought to myself. Very fucking doubtful. When I reached the pub door and stepped outside in the street, I was relieved to not find the lads outside waiting for me. A few minutes later, the door swung open and Cormac walked out. Not whore, I barked, pointing a finger at Bella, who filed outside after him. She stays the fuck away from me. It's a free country, Bella countered, glaring daggers at me. I can go where the hell I want. Either she goes or I go, I growled, addressing Cormac. Your choice. Bella opened her mouth to say something else, something spiteful no doubt, but Cormac spoke first. Go back inside, he ordered her. I won't be long. But I need to talk to him, Cormac pressed. Go inside. With what looked like great reluctance, Bella went back inside, leaving me alone on the street with Cormac. Right, he growled, rolling out his shoulders. Let's do this, Kavanagh. I arched a brow, amused at the fighting stance Ryan had taken. If he thought I was going to throw my career away for a punch-up over Bella, he was seriously mistaken. Shannon, absolutely, but Bella, not a chance. Put your fists away, you bleed needs it, I barked. I'm not going to touch you. He watched me for several moments, eyes full of mistrust, clearing, waiting for me to pounce. It was almost comical. Almost. Believe it or not, Johnny, he finally broke the tension by saying, I was genuinely trying to clear the air between us when we were both full drunk. Fair enough, he conceded. But I didn't mean for that to happen. You didn't mean for what to happen exactly? I asked, leaning my shoulder against the wall of the pub for balance. You didn't mean to fuck me over? Or you didn't mean to hit my best friend and your teammate? The night air had hit me like a fucking wrecking ball, and I knew full well that without the wall for support, I'd be swaying like the Tower of Pisa. And Gibbs hit first, Cormac snapped, and then threw his hands up. He was in my face. Because you were in mine, I replied calmly. Because you were told to leave and you wouldn't. And because I'm his captain, and that means something to him. Cormac grimaced at my words. Good. Fucker needed to feel them. And I didn't mean to fuck you over, he added, cheeks reddening. I thought you two were off. I really fucking like the girl, Johnny. I always have. Then all you had to do was pick up the phone, I countered, words slurring, desperate for my best efforts. And hear it from the horse's mouth. I should have, he finally admitted. You know what the messed up thing is? I mused, voicing my thoughts aloud. It's that if you told me you liked her, I would have stepped back. Folding my arms across my chest, I glared at him. I would have respected the shite out of you for being a man about it, and I'd have walked away. Bella and I were never serious. I didn't have a relationship with her, but I had one with you, and you betrayed me. Cap, no. Shut up, and let me say this. Exhaling heavily, I said, it's not that she went behind my back with my teammate. It's that my teammate went behind my back with her. Cormac groaned loudly. Johnny, lad, I didn't mean for it to. I held my hand up, warding him off with his bullshit. Don't feed me that you didn't mean for it to happen line. I've had sex, Cormac, many times. We both know that when you put your dick inside a girl, you always fucking mean it. It doesn't just slip in unannounced to you. You're right, he admitted after a long pause. Shit, lad. You're right. I know I am, I replied, tone clipped. And you're really done? He watched me with a weary expression. You don't want her back? I shook my head and expelled a frustrated breath. I don't know how many ways I can say it, Roy. I don't want a bleeding thing to do with that girl. So you go right ahead and do whatever the hell you want with her. Just keep her the fuck away from me. Keep your PDAs out of my face, and we'll be golden. Are you saying that to save face? He pushed. I think you know me by now that I'm a straight talker. I growled. When I tell you I'm done, I mean it. So that's it? Yep. I nodded. That's it. Why aren't you more pissed at me? He asked, giving me a mistrusting look. Because I feel sorry for you, I told him, and surprisingly, it was the truth. I was feeling sorry for Cormac. I was so disappointed in him. I was a lot of things, but pissed wasn't one of them. Not right now, at least. He was a pawn in one of Bella's games, and even though I was drunk, I could see that as clear as day. Listen to me, I began, striving not to slur my words as I tried to give him some hard-learned home truths. I've been in this game a long fucking time, and I know what's happening here. Bella's using you to get at me, and you're letting her make an idiot out of you. Only God himself knew why I was giving him advice after stabbing me in the back, but I continued. She can't have me anymore, and you're the next best thing. I slurred. It's the money for that one, Ryan. Money and status. Shaking my head, I added. Fighting with your teammate over a fucking girl is the beginning of the end. Go down that path, and it's over for you before it's even started. Even in my drunken state, I knew I was making a hypocritical fucking statement. I justified my reasons with the knowledge that Shannon was worth it. Bella was not. Cormac glowered at me. You think you're better than me? He was serious. Was that all he took from my effort of helping him? I am better than you, I snapped, frustrated that he wasn't listening to me. If you want to be on my level, then step it up in the pitch, work harder, train harder, be fucking better, and open your goddamn eyes to danger, because that so-called girlfriend of yours will bleed you dry, lad. She is my girlfriend, he snarled. So don't talk to her about like that. God, give me strength. Fine. I threw my hands up. Keep your girlfriend away from mine and we be rosy. You don't have a girlfriend, he replied slowly, expression laced with confusion. Me, I corrected, flustered at the word spell. Keep her away from me and we won't have a problem. So what happens now? Cormac asked, face contorted in a pain grimace. Are we going to have a problem playing together after this? No. No. His brow shot up. Why not? Because I'm not thick enough to let a girl like that fuck with my head. I bit out. You're a decent winger, and the team needs you. I'd be selfish bastard if I allowed personal issues to impact the squad. And Bella? Cormac asked after a long pause. Are you going to cause problems with her? Because you're with her? No, I told him. If she fucks with Shannon, absolutely. Shannon? Yes, Shannon. I bit out, tone harsh now. Cormac stared blankly. Who's Shannon? Shannon is the reason you're going to end up with a broken jaw. The hell? Bella was threatening to go after her. I snarled. If that happens, I will fuck you up. He blanched. Why me? Can't hit a girl, which means I'll be coming for the next best thing, I explained. So bear in mind that every single time your Bella decides to make a threat, spread a nasty rumour, or fuck with my Shannon, I return the favour on your face every single goddamn time. Cormac visibly paled, and the visual, although slightly hazy, was extremely satisfying. Good, I grunted, pulling my phone out of my pocket to call a taxi. Glad we understand each other. Shaking my head, I blinked a couple of times to clear my vision as I pulled up my phone book and dialed a number labelled Fat Paddy. Fucking Gibbsy. I should have known better than to leave my phone alone with him when I went for a shower. The last time I got a hold of my phone, he renamed my mother Sugar Tits and Bella Devil Pussy. It was all shits and giggles until Sugar Tits texted me in the middle of the night demanding I come downstairs to unlock the front door because she was standing outside and wanted to come inside. Not knowing who the hell was texting me, I had replied with more profanities than I cared to think about before threatening to call the Garda on my own bleeding mother. Talk about a clusterfuck of a misunderstanding. Do you want to shake it out? Cormac asked, distracting me from my mission to get my drunk ass home. He extended his hand towards me. Get that fucking thing away from me. I scowled at his hand as I put my phone in my car. I know where it's been. His expression darkened, but he had the good sense not to push his luck for the night. With a stiff nod, Cormac turned around and walked back inside the bar. When Fat Paddy's number rang off, I tried 5 more times before giving up. Taxis round here turned their phones off on Saturday nights when it got busy, and from sheer volume of people about the streets tonight, I knew I'd be waiting a long fucking time to get home. Frustrated, I turned my attention back to my phone and scrolled through my contacts, looking for Hughie's name. That little bollocks, I cursed, when I realised that Gibbsy had once again changed the name of every single contact on my list. Sugar Tits and Devil Pussy were once again present in my contacts, along with new ones like Big Daddy G, Fanny Flaps, Call if arrested, Do not call if arrested, and my personal favourite, Judas Iscariot Cunt. Clicking into the particular contact, I recognised the number as being Cormac's. He could stay like that. Devil Pussy too. I spent a ridiculous amount of time trying to find Hughie's number because I couldn't figure out who was bleeding who in my phone. After accidentally dialing the contact Casual Sex and hearing Coach Malcahy's voice in the other line, I quickly hung up, cancelling the other incoming call from King Clit, because who in their right mind would answer a number listed as that? I switched off my phone and shoved it back in my pocket. Morose, I made my way across the road to a chip shop and ordered half a dozen cheeseburgers and 2 bags of chips. No need to watch my diet now. Not when my body was hell-bent and giving up on me. Slumped on the wall outside the chipper, I devoured everything and chucked it down with a bottle of water. The grease tasted foreign to me, and I knew I'd pay for it tomorrow, but for now, I did not care. Johnny Kavanagh? A vaguely familiar voice called my name. Is that you? I snapped my gaze up to see a tall lad, about my age, looking expectantly at me, his arm slung over the shoulder of an attractive blonde. Fan or friend? Friend or fan? I tried to place the face and couldn't, so decided on fan. No pictures tonight, kids, I bit out, tone slurred. Johnny's on a timeout. The guy laughed, but made no move to shove a camera in my face, which was just as well considering my current condition. Instead, he shook the hell out of me by saying, I spoke to you on the phone the other week. You know my sister Shannon. You dropped her home from school. My head snapped up, and I found myself concentrating a whole heap more on the lad in front of me. You're the hailer. I paused and racked my brain for his name. Joey, I blurted out, proud of myself for managing to retrieve that piece of information in the state. Joey the hoarder, and Shannon, like the river. Like the river? The girl chuckled. God, how much have you had to drink? A river load of it by the looks of it, Joey stated wearily, eyeing me with curiosity. Do you think you should head home, man? He added. You look fairly well oiled. Would if I could, I admitted with a grumble. No taxi. Sure we can give you a lift, can't we, babe? The girl announced, pointing down the street. We're only parked down the road. I opened my mouth to protest, but that'd be great, thanks, came out instead. Yeah, sure, no problem, Joey agreed. Looking a bit surprised, he shifted uncomfortably for a minute and then inclined his head. Let's go. I managed to stand up, but it took a lot of work to stay upright. Slamming my shoulder against the wall, I managed to keep my balance as I followed after them. Thankfully, the girl, who I presumed was Joey's girlfriend, wasn't messing when they said they were only parked down the road. Another few stumbling feet and we reached the red Opel Corsa. At least, that's what I thought it was. It was hard to tell because my head was spinning and the car was a bucket of rust. Bucket, though. I was in no state to question their methods of travelling. I was beyond grateful for the lift. I'm Aoife Malloy, by the way, the girl announced, giving me a bright smile before making her way around to the passenger side of the car. Joey, the hoarder's girlfriend, she snickered at the last bit before climbing into the front seat. Nice to meet you, I replied, keeping my weight against the wall while Joy opened the driver's side door, then rolled down the seat forward. 3-door, he said by way of explanation. You're going to have to climb into the back. It's fine, lad. I pulled my way from the wall and braced my weight against the car before wedging myself through the tiny space. My efforts were about as effective as sailing a paper boat because Joey had to shove my back to get me inside. Christ, I muttered when I was finally in. Sinking down in the middle of the seat, I had to twist my body sideways and legs facing the side window so Joey could push back his seat. You good, Kavanagh? He called out when he climbed inside and pushed his seat back another 5 inches. All good, I choked out, body mashed between the back of his seat and mine. Thanks again for the lift. No bother, Joey replied. He leaned over and pressed a kiss to his girlfriend's lips before fastening his seatbelt. Where are we heading? Straight to your house, because I want to fuck your sister, I thought to myself, smirked at the fabulous notion, and then hunted the crazy thought away with a shake of my head. Probably love her too, I mused to myself. A fucking lot. Before pushing the madness out as well. Cop yourself on, asshole. About 4 miles the other side of Tommen College, I slared. I tried to find my seatbelt, but my fumbling hands wouldn't cooperate. Head out the main road for the city. Giving up and finding my belt, I dropped my head back against the headrest and sighed. I'll call the turn-offs when you get to them. No bother. He started the engine, and I just pulled onto the road when I felt the car brake suddenly. What the fuck? Joey barked, seconds before 2 hands slammed down on the hood of his car. Get off my car, asshole. You're stealing my centaur, Gibbsy roared in the window as he leaned over the hood of the car. Give him back. His eyes darted from Joey to me, recognition sparking. Hey, Cap, he grinned, head lolling to one side. How's it going? I've been looking everywhere for you. And this clown is? Joey asked, tone derisive. Attention locked on Gibbsy, who's having a one-way conversation with me through the windscreen of his car. He's my flanker, I grumbled, before turning my attention back to the man-child hugging the bonnet. Gibbs, what the fuck are you doing, lad? I barked, glaring out the windscreen. You're supposed to be going home with Hughie. The guards pulled him over for tax and insurance, called back through the windscreen, like that answered my question. I gaped. So? Hughie's above board. He looked at me, Johnny, shone his big fucking torch right in my eyes, he called back. I panicked and jumped out of the car. Shrugging, he added, I've been running around town ever since. He narrowed his eyes. I tried calling you, but you kept cutting me off. I glared at them. You're King Clit? Oh, yeah. Gibbsy snickered. I forgot about that. What's Hughie down as? Ginger pubes? He replied, like it was the most obvious thing ever. It wasn't. He's blonde, I growled. His girlfriend isn't. Jesus Christ, I groaned, rubbing my forehead. What do you want me to do with him? Joey asked. I shrugged, contemplating telling him to drive over the annoying fucker. But then I knew I'd be terribly lonely without him. And in all fairness, he'd taken a few slaps defending my honour tonight. I should probably take him back to my place, I begrudgingly admitted. Or secured hospital. Joey muttered something incoherent under his breath and climbed out. It sounded something like, You two fuckers better not puke in this car. I was making no promises. My buddy was a projector. Pulling on the seat, Joey dragged it forward and instructed the intoxicated Gibbsy to climb in. He did, But instead of climbing or crawling inside, the bastard lunged into the back seat. Fuck! I roared, doubling over in pain when his elbow landed in my crotch. There goes your last shot right there. Shit, man. Did I get your dick? Gibbsy slared as he tried and failed to climb over me. I'll get ice for your balls when we get home. Get off me! He strangled out, fully sure I was turning purple from the pain, as he climbed over the seat, digging and kneeing me with his elbows and knees. Finally, I managed to drag his ass over the other side of the seat. Christ, I mused, settling down alongside me. That's the tightest hole I've been inside in months. Joey climbed back in and started the engine before quickly tearing off down the street. I hope there's not any more of you, he said. The car's went down the back. Sorry, I began to say, but was cut off by Gibbsy. It's his fault, the fat bastard, he announced. Turning to face me, he added, Hey, is your dick okay, man? I'm really sorry about that. I hope I didn't squash your balls. I narrowed my eyes at him. Go fuck yourself, Jared. I was being sincere, Jonathan, he shot back, wounded. For that, you can get your own bloody ice pack tonight. Hold up. Grabbing the front of my shirt, he dragged me towards him and sniffed my mouth. You traitor, he choked out, looking comically horrified. You went to the chipper. Yeah, I did, I replied, shoving away from him. And it was fucking delicious. And I've no regrets. What did you have? Few cheeseburgers? And curry chips? How did it taste? Better than sex. We're supposed to be on a diet. Gibbsy hissed in an appalled tone before quickly asking, Did you get me something? Yeah, I got you a burger. Thanks, Johnny. And then I got hungry, so I ate it. You're a monster. You two are so weird. Aoife laughed. Aren't they funny, Joey? There's something all right, Shannon's brother replied. Hey. Suddenly realising he was in the company of two strangers, Gibbsy leaned through the middle of the seats and asked, Who the fuck are you guys? Johnny's friends with my boyfriend's sister, Aoife explained. Sister? The word seemed to confuse Gibbsy, who stared blankly at me for several moments, throwing a prayer up to the heavens that he could control himself. I nodded and said, Shannon. Gibbsy sank back beside me and frowned. Shannon? Yes, Shannon. I glared at him, Gibbsy's eyes widened, then awareness suddenly dawning on him. Oh, Shannon, he exclaimed. Oh, yeah, little Shannon from third year. Grinning, he nudged me in the ribs. Johnny here has a fierce soft spot for your sister. Is that right? Joy replied tightly. Oh, fuck. Yeah, he's always looking out for her at school, Gibbsy added with a wink, making sure she's not getting any hassle. I bit back a groan and resisted the urge to wrap my hands round his neck and choke the life out of him. To be fair, it could have been worse. Gibbsy was capable of saying so much worse. That's lovely, Aoife chimed in, and I noticed the way she placed a hand on her boyfriend's knee. Isn't that kind of him, Joey? Why? Joey demanded, tone hard and suspicious. What's in it for you? I sighed heavily and tried to come up with something believable. Because I fucked her. You what? Joey roared, slamming on the brakes. A sudden jolt of the car stopping because Gibbsy and me were lunged forwards. Turning around, Joey glared at me. You better be messing around right now, Kavanagh, because I swear to Christ I will over. I hurried to explain, dragging myself back onto the seat. I fucked her over on her first day. Embarrassed her on the pitch when I knocked her out. But I wanted to fuck her. I want your sister so bad, you wouldn't believe it. The things I imagined doing to her would shock you. I waited for the homicidal look in his eyes to fade before continuing. I figured I owed the girl, so I just kept an eye out on things, made sure she was settling in okay. It's not easy starting a new school. Shrugging, I added. Didn't want her getting any unnecessary shite. I was a sitting duck waiting for her brother to make the next move. If Joey hit me, I wouldn't hit back. I wouldn't retaliate. That was the scary thing about the situation. Sitting in his car, drunk off my ass, knowing that I was more than capable of beating the shite out of him, but knowing I wouldn't. Because of her. Because he was important to her. Because if I hit him, I would hurt her. And hurting her was bad. Hurting her made me want to hurt something harder. The notion was more messed up and complicated than my drunk ass could comprehend. Joey didn't reply, but he did turn his attention to the road and start driving again. I breathed a sigh of relief, turning to Gibbsy. I mouthed the words, "Keep your mouth shut." He responded with a theatrical finger-to-mouth zipper motion. When we reached the turn off to my house half an hour later, I mumbled a few short directions. Joey responded with a clipped nod and turned right, leaving the main road for the rickety secondary road that led to the entrance of our property. I was feeling more clear-headed now. I guessed the near brush with death at the hands of Shannon's brother had shaken some sense into me and sobered my ass up. I wish I could say the same for Gibbsy, who was passed out beside me, snoring like a grizzly bear. When Joey pulled up outside the gates of the property, I said, "We can get out here, man." "That's where you live?" Shannon's brother asked, speaking for the first time since the almost disaster that was our miscommunication. His attention was riveted to the huge cast-iron gates with an ugly-ass eagles on either pillar. "How far up that driveway to your house?" he asked. "About a quarter of a mile." "You'll never manage to get him to walk that far," he muttered. "I'll drive you up to the door." 310587. I rolled out the code, which just so happened to be my date of birth. "Just key that into the pad over there, and I'll open for you." Joey keyed the code into the pad and waited for the gates to open inwards. Again, I appreciate this. I felt the need to mention. "I know it's out of your way. Just returning the favour," he added, driving up the narrow laneway towards the house. "This place is amazing," Aoife said with a dreamy sigh. "Look at all the trees and oh my God, look at the size of that house," she squeaked when the house came into view, lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. Mam was paranoid as fuck about potential robbers, thinking the house was empty, so she had automatic sensors and timed lighting installed everywhere. In the yard, in the house, on the lawn. It was ridiculous, but drunk me was grateful for the illumination. Joey killed the engine, climbed out, adjusting the seat as far forward as it would go. I was much steadier on my feet when I was getting out than I had been climbing in. "Thanks again," I said, before reaching into the back and hauling Sleeping Beauty himself out of the car. "I owe you one." Wrapping my arm around Gibbsy's waist, who was still half asleep, I dragged him to the front door and wrestled to get my keys out. Failing to get them out of my jean pocket, I dropped him on his ass and battled with my jeans for a long moment before finally retrieving my keys. "Stop, will ya? I'm sensitive," Gibbsy groaned, before curling up, snoring resumed. "Here," Joey announced, when I managed to stab the timber frame with the key, missing the keyhole by a good 3 inches. "Let me give you a hand." Grateful for the intervention, I handed over my keys and turned my attention to my friend. "Get up," I growled, nudging him with my foot. "We're home." Fucker didn't budge. Gibbsy! I barked. Nothing but snores. God damn it. Releasing a frustrated sigh, I reached down and grabbed his shoulders and tried to haul him off the ground. Joey had her door open, came and helped me heave him up. I was in no position to decline his help, so with each of us taking a side, we hauled his dead weight ass into the house. Drop him down over there, I instructed, gesturing to the living room. You sure? Joey asked, flicking on the light. That couch is white, man. It's leather, I muttered, too tired and sore to worry about my mother's three-piece suite. Shuffling over to the couch, we tossed Gibbsy down. If he pukes, he'll be hosing it down by himself in the morning. Fair enough, Joey replied, with a shrug before turning around and heading for the door. I trailed after him, not really knowing what to say. The night had gone from depressing to infuriating to downright confusion in a matter of hours. Listen, Joey said when he stepped outside onto the gravel. About Shannon. Here we go, I thought to myself. I've been waiting for this since I climbed into his piece of shit car. Behave yourself, calf. Keep your mouth shut. What about Shannon? I asked, leaning against the door frame. She's fragile. He came right out and said it. Vulnerable. Yeah. My voice was gruff. I cleared my throat and tried again. I already guessed that. Joey nodded and shoved his hands in his pockets. I kept my mouth shut, waiting for him to continue. What I'm trying to say here is that I appreciate you looking out for my sister, he finally said. She's had a hard few years and Tommen seems like a good fit for her. So, I guess I'm hoping that you continue to keep an eye out for her at school, you know, making sure no one is giving her any hassle. My brow shot up. Yeah, sure. That's no problem. He nodded again, his words coming out faster now. She seems to be settling in, Tommen, and she keeps telling me the kids are nice to her. But I'm at BCS, so I've no way of telling if she's okay or not. And she never tells anyone what's going on in that head of hers until it's too late. I frowned. Too late? Bitchy girl shit, he explained. My sister's had a target on her back since she was in tappies. That's pretty messed up, I muttered, already knowing all this, but having the good sense to not tell her brother that. Kids are cruel, he agreed. They sure are, I muttered. He stared at me for a long time before saying, Are you going to tell me about it? Jesus, what? The fuck did he want me to tell him? I racked my brain and came up with nothing. PG, so I kept my mouth shut. Ciara Maloney's boyfriend? Joey filled in, giving me an odd look. Some fella from Tommen beat the shit out of him in town yesterday. Oh? I arched a brow and folded my arms across my chest. Is that so? Joey smirked. Yeah, it is. Well, I hope he fucked him up. I slared, feeling my body drum with anger at the memory of those nasty fucking girls. Heard his girlfriend's a bitch. I heard he was in a bad way, Joey replied. Broken nose, few stitches. How awful, I drawled. Joey stared at me for another long pause before shaking his head. Anyway, I just wanted you to know that I appreciate that my sister has someone looking out for her when I can't. He turned to leave, only to spin back round. Friend. His word held a bite to it. My sister needs a friend, Kavanagh, he clarified. She doesn't need to be getting her hopes up. on a guy who'll be gone come the summer. I heard his warning loud and clear. My fucked up brain might not heed the warning, but I definitely heard it. Without another word, Joy turned round and walked away, leaving me standing in the doorway, staring after him with only two things in my mind. The first, find an ice pack for my balls. The second, fantasizing about all the terribly inappropriate things I'd long to do with his sister.
Chapter 32. Days Off and Demon Brothers. Shannon. I think you need to buy that girl a ring, Joe, I announced as I read and then reread the note Aoife had left in my brother's bedside locker on Sunday morning. She's a keeper. Yeah, Joey muttered, scratching his jaw. She must really love me. You think? I rolled my eyes. She adores you. But I don't get why she would do this for me. Me either, I teased, especially when he looks so much like Shrek. Cheeky fucker, he chuckled, play-shoving me. Give me a look at that note again. I held it out for him, the same note he had already read at least a dozen times, and then padded over to the kitchen table with my mug of tea. Taking a seat, I watched my brother read the note again, brows scrunched in confusion. Why did she do this, Shan? Shaking his head, he walked from cupboard door to cupboard door, opening and closing them. She must have gotten up at the crack of dawn to do this. He opened the fridge, revealing a heaving stack of groceries slotted inside. It must have cost her a fortune. Joey was right. Aoife had to have gotten up early to do this, considering it was only 11 o'clock. He was also right about it costing her a fortune. I'd found the shopping receipt in the bin for €143.67. Says here, she'll be back around 1 o'clock with the boys, he added, rereading the note he'd been brooding over since he woke up. They're going to the playground first, and then the pitch for a kickabout after that. Did you see this? I asked as I thumped through 7 neatly stacked envelopes labelled by day of the week. Shaking one of the little brown envelopes in my hand, I smiled when I heard the sound of coins clanging. Your girlfriend allotted your money into daily budget packets? Joey gaped at me. What? Yep, I giggled, placing Tuesday's envelope back down on the pile. No fucking way, he muttered as he stalked over to where I was and picked up a handful of the tiny rectangular envelopes. And she put little hearts on them for you, I snickered. It's so cute. Is it normal to be mad at a person because they love you? My brother asked, eyeing the envelopes with confusion. He turned his green eyes on me and asked, Is this normal? Why are you asking me? I shrugged uncomfortably. I have no experience with this sort of thing. Oh, would you look at this? He said with a sigh, pointing to the €20 note lodged beneath Aoife's car keys and the sticky note alongside it saying, Joey and Shannon's Breakfast Fund. In capital letters beneath that were the words, Feed your sister, babe. She's too skinny. My girlfriend left me pocket money. Joey's tone was laced with sarcasm. Jesus Christ, Shan. Don't be mad at her, I told him. She's trying to help us. I know, he pinched the bridge of his nose and exhaled heavily. And I'm not mad. I just don't know how to handle it. Maybe just by saying thank you, I offered. And I love you too? Or flowers? Those are good too. Joey smirked. You're full of ideas, aren't you? I smiled back at him and then sighed, forcing myself to address the elephant in the room, or the lack of. Do you think Mam will be home soon? The light in my brother's eyes dimmed out. I really don't give a fuck what she does, Shan, he replied tightly, so long as that prick stays away from this house. He will come back, Joey. You know this. Stop lying to yourself. Yeah. I chewed on my nail, contemplating his reply for a moment before saying, What are we going to do if Mam doesn't come back, Joe? That was where my worries rested. With my mother. because she had never left us overnight like this before. "We'll manage, Shan," Joey replied, Adam's apple bobbing. "Like we always do." "And school?" I whispered. "Nanny will be home from Beara tonight," Joey stated in a no-nonsense tone of voice. "She'll sort the boys out, as she always does with school and all that stuff." He scrubbed a hand over his face before adding, "All we have to do is keep the house, pay the bills, pack them a lunch in the mornings, and be here at night when Nanny drops them off." "I was supposed to go on a school trip after Easter, but if she's not home, I'll cancel." "No," he barked. "You won't." "Joey," I sighed, "if Mam isn't back by then, you can't take care of the boys on your own." "I won't be," he countered. "I've already told you Nanny will help. Aoife too." "There's no way you're missing that trip. You need out of this shithole, Shan. More than any of us." "Are you sure?" I squeezed out. He nodded. Inhaling a steadying breath, I said, "I know I don't say this often, but I want you to know that I love you, and I'm so grateful that you're my big brother." Joey pulled a face. "Are you going soft on me, baby sister?" "No," I blushed. "I just want you to know that you're important to us, and we appreciate everything you do for us. Don't leave us. Please don't leave me." "Well, right back at you, kid," he replied, looking a little awkward. "You'll make a great dad someday," I decided to tease and make him even more uncomfortable. Joey snorted. "Yeah, that's never fucking happening." I winked. "Never say never, Joe." "Believe me, I've had more than enough of playing daddy to another man's kids to last me a lifetime." He shot back. "Now, go upstairs and throw some clothes on, and we'll hit up the deli for a chicken fillet roll." "The fridge is full now," I informed him. "Yeah," he grinned. "But my girlfriend left me a direct order, and I'm not nearly thick enough to ignore that." I hadn't eaten anything since yesterday, and my stomach growled in anticipation. Hash browns. I practically purred as I thought about what I was going to have, and some jellies and a can of Coke. Springing off the chair, I hurried for the staircase with food on my mind. "Hold on, Shan. I almost forgot." Breaking off mid-sentence, Joey padded into the kitchen, returning a few moments later with a small gift-wrapped parcel in his hands. Joey handed me the gift and then ruffled my hair. "Happy sweet 16th, Shan." "Thanks, Joey." I beamed, clutching what I already knew was a CD beneath the pink wrapping paper. "I'd get you more if I could," he told me with an embarrassed shrug, "and I forgot to get a card." "Stop," I told him as I sank down on the step of the stairs and ripped at the paper, only to squeal with excitement. "McFly's album!" My eyes wide with excitement, I stared down at the CD in my hand and smiled. I really wanted this. "I know," he snorted. "You're such a girl." Slipping his hand into his jeans pocket, he tossed another box on my lap. "This one's from Aoife," he explained. Thrilled at the prospect of getting two presents, I tore at the polka dot wrapping paper and gasped when I saw what was inside. "Whoa," I breathed, gaping at the designer bottle of perfume in my hands. "This must have cost her a fortune." "She must love you too," Joey teased. I rolled my eyes. "Uh-huh." "Hurry up and get changed," he ordered, moving for the front door. "I'll be in the car." Bolting into my room with my presents in tow, I placed them carefully on my dresser before tearing off my pajamas. Pulling on a jumper and tracksuit pants, I ripped open the box that contained my new bottle of perfume, squirted myself all over, and then raced after Joey. Shoving my feet into my runners in the hall, I grabbed my coat off the banister and hurried outside to the car. The minute I climbed into the passenger seat, the smell of alcohol assaulted my senses. "Jesus, Joey!" I coughed as I rolled down the window. "It smells like a brewery in here." "I know," Joey replied as he started the engine and pulled away from the curb. "You can blame your friends from Tommen for that." "My friends?" I shook my head and stared at his side profile. "What are you talking about?" Johnny Kavanagh, Joey stated. We ended up dropping him home from the pub last night. Oh. Wait. What? You dropped Johnny home? I hated the way my voice was all loud and pitchy. When? How? Why? Last night when we were picking up our takeaway, Joey explained as he pulled out of the estate and onto the main road. He was thrown down against a wall outside the chipper in town. He was in a bad way. He was? Oh, God. Concern filled my chest. What was wrong with him? He was drunk off his tits, Joey grumbled. His friend was worse. His friend? I asked, careful to mask the emotion in my voice. His girlfriend? Nah, some big blonde fucker, Joey corrected, and I mentally sagged in relief. I think his name was Gussie or Gilly or something like that. Gibbsy, I confirmed quietly, thinking about how those two were joined at the hip at school. That's the one. Joey nodded, then released a low chuckle. Bloody idiot threw himself on top of the car, demanding I give him back his centre. Laughing, he added, he looked serious too, like he genuinely thought I was kidnapping Kavanagh. My brows furrowed. Why did Gibbsy call Johnny his centre? Johnny's position is outside centre in rugby, he explained. He's number 13. Oh yeah, I knew that. I remembered his jersey. So, you dropped them both home? I asked, feeling warm. To Johnny's house? Yup, my brother confirmed. Had to help Kavanagh carry that Gibbsy fella into the house. He was legless, Shan, a right bloody mess. We left him in the living room. You were inside Johnny's house? My brain was reeling, trying to digest everything my brother was telling me. He was with Johnny last night. He was at his house. He was inside his house. I wanted to ask him if he asked about me, but I managed to keep that question from spilling from my lips. Yeah, Shan. Jesus Christ, by the looks of their property, his family must be minted. Joey blew out a breath. Never seen anything so fancy in my life. The sound of a phone ringing cut through the air, distracting us both. We both patted our pockets. Not mine, Joey stated. Mine either, I muttered, looking on the dashboard and then on the floor at my feet. The ringing cut out and then restarted a few seconds later, vibrating loudly. Check the back seat, Joey instructed as he pulled over on the side of the road and threw on his hazard lights. Unclipping my belt, I crawled between the seats and dropped into the back seat, my eyes searching the seats for the noise. Anything? Joey asked, pulling back into the traffic. No. Dropping down between the seats, I peeked under the driver's seat. Oh, wait, it's here! I exclaimed, eyes locking on the sleek-looking phone lighting up and vibrating against the floor. I see it. The ringing cut out again, and I snaked a hand out, retrieving the phone. Shuffling back onto the seat, I quickly fastened my seatbelt, eyes glued to the phone. Is this Aoife's? I gazed down at the expensive-looking device. Did she get a new phone for Christmas? No, Joey replied. Her folks got her hair straighteners for Christmas. The phone began to ring again, screen lighting up with the name King Clit flashing across it. Ew, Joe, I groaned. That's disgusting. What? Whoever's calling this number is listed as King Clit. My brother threw his head back and laughed. That's not funny, I admonished, watching the screen go blank again as the call ended. That's pretty disturbing. It's your man, the Gibbsy fella. I heard Johnny ranting at him over changing his contacts around last night, Joey chuckled. He's King Clit. The phone lit up again, vibrating in my hands and ringing loudly. Well, answer it, my brother instructed, tone impatient. He's probably looking for it. I don't want to. Shoving my hand between the seats, I tried to thrust the phone at my brother. You answer it. How the fuck am I supposed to answer it? Joey hissed, batting my hand away. I'm driving, Shannon. Just answer the phone. No, I refused, shaking my head. They'll think we stole it. No, They won't think we stole it, Joey shot back tetchily. The ringing stopped and Joey let out a growl. When it rings again, answer the fucking thing. Like clockwork, the phone rang 5 seconds later. Trembling, I pressed the accept button and put the phone to my ear. Hello? Well, shit. I wasn't expecting anyone to pick up. The voice at the other end replied. You have my buddy's phone? Yeah, I know. Closing my eyes, I pressed the heel of my hand to my forehead and exhaled heavily. He left it in my brother's car last night. Last night's a bit hazy, Gibbsy drawled down the line. So you might need to refresh my memory by letting me know who your brother is. Joey Lynch? I squeezed out, trying not to hyperventilate in front of my brother. He and his girlfriend Aoife dropped you guys home from town last night. The phone was under a seat. Squirming uncomfortably, I threw in a quick disclaimer by saying, I just found it like 2 minutes ago. Nope, Gibbsy replied after a long pause. I have no recollection of that happening. Well, it clearly did, I shot back flustered, considering your friend's phone is in my brother's car. Little Shannon, Gibbsy sounded amused. Is that you? Yeah. I flamed red. It's me. Is your brother with you now? He asked. Yeah, but he's driving, so he won't use the phone. Does he remember where he dropped us last night? Hold on, I'll ask. Pausing, I covered the handset and looked to Joey. They want to know if you remember where the house is. Joey nodded and I returned to the call. Yeah, he remembers. Can you put me on loudspeaker? I'll try. Clicking a few buttons, I held the phone up to Joey's ear. Okay, you're on loudspeaker now. Hey man, how's it going? Gibbsy's voice came out much louder now, though he was noticeably hoarse. Better than you by the sound of it, my brother quipped. What you need? Could you drop Cav's phone over? He asked. I'm so sorry to put you out, man, but he's losing his shit here. He's weird as fuck when it comes to his personal information. What's in it for me? Joey shot back, not missing a beat. Joey! I hissed. He shot a cheeky smirk back at me. Ah, shit, man, I don't know, Gibbsy mumbled. A rasher sandwich and a pot of tea? I don't have much in the lines of barter. Horrified, I shook my head and mouthed, No! But Joey said, Yeah, grand. We'll be over in 30. Joey! I cried. Thanks a million, Gibbsy replied, sounding relieved. You're as sound as a pound. No bother, Joey replied, taking the phone out of my hand. And I like my rashers crispy, he added before cutting the call and dropping the phone down on the seat beside him. Detour. What are you doing? I spluttered, wide-eyed. We are not going over there. What's the problem? He quizzed. I thought you were friends. I know him from school, Joey, I choked out. That doesn't mean I'm his friend. Relax, we're only dropping over the guy's phone. And you're having breakfast. Well, I'm hardly driving that far out of my way for nothing, Joey laughed. Besides, I'm hungry. Yeah, for a chicken fillet roll, I reminded him. I've changed my mind. What about Aoife? I demanded. And the boys? Aoife and the kids won't be back until 1, he replied. She said so herself. Joey, we can't go over there, I pleaded. Please. Shannon Lynch, Joey said in a teasing tone. Are you blushing? No, I grumbled. You know, it's okay by me if you like him, don't you? Joey chuckled. I'm not that kind of brother. All I want you to do is be careful. I've told you what he's about. He'll be gone in the summer, so it's up to you if you want to get hung up on something temporary. I don't, I lied, mortified. So drop it. Fair enough, Joey mused. Then you should have no problem stopping over for some grub. You can do what you like. Sulking, I folded my arms across my chest and huffed, I am not getting out of this car. Half an hour of tense silence later, we pulled up outside a gigantic pair of black-painted iron gates, and Joey rolled down his window, stretched his arm out, and keyed something into the pad. A few moments later, the gates swung inwards. My mouth fell open. You have the password to his gate? My brother laughed in response. A few moments later, the huge gate swung inwards and we continued up a long winding laneway that was lined on either side with huge trees. A house came into view a few minutes later, and I sucked in a sharp breath. Oh, God. This was where he lived? Of course it was. Wow. I whispered to myself, taking in the sight of the huge Victorian-style mansion with a bazillion windows and the biggest front door I'd ever seen. I know, Joey agreed with an impressed sigh. Pressing my cheeks to the window, I stared out at the sprawling lawns and gardens as the sound of gravel crunching beneath the tyres filled my ears. It was stone grey in colour, but it was draped in so much ivy that it looked almost majestic. It looks like 6 of our house side by side, I whispered, gazing up at the property. There's like 12 windows on the top level alone. Joey pulled up outside the front door and killed the engine before climbing out. You should see it from the inside, he said as he reached over and grabbed the phone. Fucking incredible. My gaze followed Joey as he strolled over to the front door, knocked once, and then sauntered inside. Holy crap. My brother just walked into Johnny Kavanagh's house.
Chapter 33. King Clit is a liability. Johnny. I was in the process of flipping my mattress off my bed when Gibbsy strolled into my room, whistling to himself. I've located your phone, Cav, he announced proudly. Thank Christ. I sagged forward in relief and dropped my mattress back down on the base. Where is he? In Joey's car? My brow shot up. Joey, the hurler? Gibbsy nodded. Apparently. You dope. I grumbled. This is all your fault. I know, he chirped happily. But he's dropping it over for you. Yeah, I sighed in relief. Fair play. Grabbing my duvet off the floor, I threw it back in the bed and then carefully lifted Suki back up. Good girl, I coaxed, feeling terrible for disturbing her in the first place. That's seriously unhygienic, Johnny, Gibbsy stated with a frown. Letting her sleep on your bed like that? He shuddered. Fucking rank, lad. You're one to talk about unhygienic, I growled, swinging round to face him. She's cleaner than you. I shot him a dirty look before adding. At least Suki doesn't puke all over herself and sleep and roll into my ma's couch. Oh, you promised you wouldn't bring it up again, he choked out, looking wounded. Promise breaker. Gibbs, I bit out, striving for patience. I'm tired. I was up all night taking care of your drunk ass. I spent half the night turning you on your side so you wouldn't choke yourself, and winding you like a bleeding baby. And the other half I spent mopping up your vomit. You wrecked the living room. You plastered downstairs bathroom and puke. You almost smothered me to death with your Guinness farts when I brought you up here. Give me a few hours to get over it before asking me not to bring it up. Well, at least I hosed off all the chunks, Gibbsy replied sheepishly. And the living room, hall and bathroom were back to their former glory. Good, I barked. So you should. It's your fucking puke. You made me sleep on the floor, Johnny, he huffed. And that was mean. Because you can't be trusted with nice things. Not even a bed. Yes, Jared, not even a bed. Yeah, well, I'm your best friend, and you put me on the floor. he shot back with a huff. The dog gets the foot of your bed, and I get the fucking floor. I arched my brow. Are you saying that you want to sleep at the foot of my bed? Gibbsy stared back at me for several seconds before snickering. Yeah, okay. I have no idea where I was going with that. Neither do I, lad, I muttered, with a shake of my head. Neither do I. By the way, Gibbsy said, with an impish grin, I told your man Joey that I'd make him a fry for his troubles. Fine. Just keep it tidy. My ma will be back in the morning, I replied, too weary to contemplate the terrible idea it was to have Joey Lynch in my house when he was clearly sceptical of my intention towards his sister. And rightly so. Gibbsy looked at me expectantly. Don't look at me like that, I told him. You know where the kitchen is. I'm not fucking cooking for you. I'm not used to gas, Gibbsy shrugged helplessly. We have electric at home. Your mother's a baker, I snapped. How do you not know how to work a bleeding stove? And yours is a flashy fashion designer, he shot back. But I don't see you prancing around the place in fur coats and Prada handbags. You're a baby, do you know that? I growled. You're like an oversized infant I've been given custody of to care for. Stomping past him, I trudged downstairs to the kitchen. Get the pan out, and whatever it is you're planning on making, I ordered. And I'm not cooking it for you, I grumbled as I stamped over to the stove and switched on the gas. You're more than capable of doing it yourself. Oh, I hope so, Gibbsy chuckled, shuffling towards me with his arms full of pork product and a tray of eggs. Think you can manage that burning the house down? I quipped as I stepped away from the stove. Pretty sure, Gibbsy replied as he set to work, leaning precariously close to the naked flame. I eyed him wearily, unconvinced. Don't burn yourself. Okay, Dad, he mocked before asking. Do you have scones? Turning to face me, he added, I love one of your mam's scones with my tea. I shook my head and held my tongue, deciding to just let the crazy float over my head. There might be a batch in the freezer. You'll have to heat them up in the oven first. I know that, he scoffed. Do you? I muttered under my breath. He was a liability. A big, dopey, loyal as they came liability. Did I ever tell you about the time your girl saved me from Brian? Gibbsy asked, while he cracked an egg over the pan, distracting me from my thoughts. Brian? I questioned, thinking about Mrs. Gibson's evil bastard of a cat. Shannon saved you from Brian? She sure did, he mused. Grabbing a spatula off the rack, he swung it round in his hand as he spoke. I love how you don't even deny she's yours anymore, lad. Fuck off, I grumbled. Curiosity got the better of me then, and I perched my ass on a stool at the island and looked at him. Tell me. Gibbsy chuckled at my response. It was the day of my birthday last month, he explained, tossing half a dozen sausages into the sizzling grease. I'd taken Brian for a walk over to Hughie's. You know how he gets when he's left alone too long. Yeah, I nodded, not batting an eyelid at this information. There had been at least 9 occasions over the last 18 months when he had arrived at my house with the Inspector Gadget lookalike cat. He lost it, lad, he said. Went batshit crazy. Broke off his lead and made for the bathroom. Took a dump in the tub. Like his owner, I quipped. My mother has never taken a shit in anyone's bathtub. Gibbsy snarled. Not your ma, I retorted. You. Gibbsy frowned and tilted his head to the side, clearly racking his brain for the memory. I decided to help him out. Away game against that school in Tipperary back in third year. Recognition dawned on his features. Oh, yeah. he snickered. That wasn't a bath. That was the shower stall in their school changing rooms, and those bastards deserved it. And in my defence, I was only 14. In Brian's defence, he's only a cat. I shot back. That fucker knows exactly what he's doing, Gibbsy grumbled. Anyway, he destroyed the gaff Johnny, and went for us when he tried to pick him up. Shannon just walked right in, scooped the fairy little fucker up and walked him home. And you know what he did to her? He poured. He was in his bloody element, lad, delighted with life, being curled up to her. Lucky Brian. Why am I only hearing about this now? I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. Sorry, Gibbsy snickered. I wasn't aware I had to run it by you every time I had to talk to the girl. You don't, I muttered. The sound of banging on the front door filled my ears moments before the door closing filled the air. Kavanagh, a deep voice called out. Come on up, Gibbsy called out, replying for me. Turning to face me, he winked and said, Best behaviour, lad. Big brother's here. Brilliant. Fucking perfect. Jesus Christ, Joey Lynch stated when he stepped into the kitchen a few moments later, with a phone in his hand and sporting a beauty of a shiner under his right eye that had been too drunk to notice last night. In the clear light of day, I found myself sizing up this guy. He was tall, but I had a good 3 inches on him, like I had of most lads of my age. He was obviously in good shape too, but it was that typical hurler physique with lean cut muscle, built for agility and speed, rather than packing any serious muscle. You should have a tour guide at the front door, he added, looking around the kitchen before settling his gaze on me. This house is like a museum. That it is, Gibbsy snickered. This is the manor. Pushing off the stool, I closed the space between us and greeted him. Thanks for this, I said, taking my phone from him. Appreciate you driving all the way over with it. Yeah, well, King Clit was very persuasive. He shot back with a smirk. Turning his gaze to Gibbsy, he arched an expectant brow. How's my food coming along, chef? Faster than a whore in the brothel, good sir, Gibbsy called back over his shoulder. Egg, lad, Joey mused, sauntering over to where Gibbsy was ducking and dodging splatters of grease. Are you old enough to use a cooker without your mammy? Christ, this fella had some pair of stones sauntering into my house and demanding food. Oddly enough, I liked it. Joey Lynch seemed like a straight shooter. I respected that in a person. I doubt it, Gibbsy replied with a laugh. It's my first time. Gibbsy fiddled with the knobs on the stove, and a huge flame flew upwards, singeing his eyebrow. Jesus Christ, Gibbsy roared, slapping his face. I'm on fire! Give me that thing before you hurt yourself, Joey ordered, snatching the spatula out of Gibbsy's hand and stepping in to flip over the rashers and eggs. Adjusting the hob to medium heat, Joey snagged the tea towel off my best friend's shoulder and began to mop up the grease splatters. Fucking private school boys, he muttered under his breath. You used to having everything done for ye. Shit, Cav, Gibbsy sniggered, taking a step back from the stove. I was wrong. This fucker right here is the daddy. Do me a favour, Cav, Joey called over his shoulder. Go check on my sister, will ya? My heart leapt in my chest. Shannon? Joey nodded and reached for a plate on the countertop. Shoving several pieces of bacon onto the plate, he added, She's in the car. Why would you leave her in the car? I demanded, tone tight. It's freezing outside. Because she wouldn't come in for me, Joey shot back, in what sounded like a duh tone. You can try to get her out to come inside yourself if you want, but she's not budging. He didn't need to ask me twice, or give me permission once for that matter. I was already on my feet and moving for the front door.
Chapter 34. Mauled by dogs and feelings. Shannon. Feeling shocked, I sat in the back seat of Aoife's car and stared up at the Kavanagh house, debating my options. Should I go inside? Should I wait out here? Should I curl up in a ball and pretend I wasn't here? Was his mother inside? Was his father there? I was mortified over what happened Friday, and while I'd been okay when we were together at the pub and the cinema, I'd spent the last 2 nights lying awake and drowning in humiliation over throwing up in front of Johnny. I was thrown off kilter by this boy. Being in his personal space was something I didn't know how to handle. I wasn't sure if I could handle my feelings for him. My thought process was interrupted when 2 pairs of enormous yellow paws slapped against the window. Startled, I swung my gaze to find 2 identical-looking dogs with bright pink collars staring back at me, whining loudly with their mouths open and tongues lolling to one side. Without thinking twice about it, I slid Joey's seat forward and climbed out of the car. The second my feet hit the gravel, I was assaulted with kisses and yodels as both dogs tried to climb my body. "Hi, guys!" I reached down and rubbed them both. My affection only seemed to rile them up because one of the dogs jumped at me, her paws slapping hard against my chest. Whoa! Losing my balance, I collapsed on my arse with a loud oof. The minute I was grounded, they both dove for me, slobbering all over my face and neck. Laughing, I tried to duck my face, but it was useless because these dogs were persistent with their loving. What I failed to notice in the car was that both dogs had clearly rolled in cow dung lately, because not only were their coats matted with mud, but they reeked so bad. After a fruitless battle to stand up, I ended up on the flat of my back on the rain-soaked gravel as they sniffed and pawed at me and basically licked every inch of my exposed skin. "You're a friendly pair," I snickered, giving up on any attempt to escape. I could feel the damp seeping into my clothes, but I made no move to get up. I couldn't if I wanted to. "Hi!" I laughed, grinning up at the one who had decided my stomach was the perfect home for her butt. She had her paws pressed firmly on my shoulders as she licked at my face. "You're a lovely girl, aren't you?" I cooed as I ducked and dodged a tongue to the mouth. It was pretty pointless considering the other one was standing by my head fighting for attention. "Careful," I warned the one by my head. "My face is tender." "Bonnie, Cupcake, get off her!" A familiar voice ordered from nearby, but neither dog listened. Instead, they seemed to up their efforts of loving me into a canine coma. A few moments later, a pair of hands hooked under my armpits. Startled by the sudden contact, my limbs locked tight of their own accord as I was lifted clean off the ground. Johnny set me down on my feet and then quickly pushed me behind him as the dogs lunged at me. "No!" he ordered. Keeping an arm around me, he held out the other in warning. "Bonnie," he growled, "you're a bad girl." His eyes darted to the other dog who was creeping closer. "Cupcake, don't even think about pulling that shite." Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a tennis ball and waved it in front of the dogs, capturing their attention instantly. "Yeah? You see that, don't you?" Johnny coaxed and then flung it across the yard. It landed somewhere out of sight and the 2 dogs bolted after it. I took the opportunity of his momentary distraction to pull my hair tie out and drape my hair over my left shoulder, concealing the side of my face from his view. "Sorry about them," Johnny said once the dogs were out of sight. Turning to face me, he gave me a quick once-over and grimaced. "Jesus, they destroyed you." I was so stunned from the sight of him, so completely unsure of what to do or say, that it took me a few moments to clear my head and register that he was speaking to me. "Huh?" "Your clothes," he explained, gesturing up and down. I looked down at myself and bit back a groan. Yep, he was right. I was destroyed in a combination of mud, rain, clumps of hair and dog slobber. "Oh, yep." Mortified, I attempted to wipe my hands on my navy tracksuit pants, but the drool stuck to my fingers. Yes, I am, I offered, forcing a small laugh when all I wanted to do was dive into the back of Aoife's car and vanish. Sorry about them, Johnny apologised, looking a little embarrassed. Those two are feral. Shaking my head, I exhaled a heavy sigh and said, No, it's okay. I didn't mind. Bonnie and Cupcake are very cute. Bonnie and Cupcake are very untrained, Johnny corrected with a grimace. Shoving his hands into the pockets of the grey sweatpants he was wearing, he added, They're my mam's dogs. She treats them like they're human, so they believe they are. Are your parents at home? I asked, feeling incredibly nervous at the thought of my brother being in close confines with either one of his parents. Joey shot from the hip and was partial to saying whatever was on his mind. It was quite possible that he would talk about the concussion incident. No, they're above in Dublin, Johnny told me. My dad's working up there at the moment. My eyes widened. You're home alone, he smirked. I'm not 4. I know that, I replied, blushing. My folks travel for work. He explained, taking mercy on me. I'm usually alone. For whatever reason, those words bothered me. I'm usually alone. That was a sorrowful statement. Frowning, Johnny reached over and cupped, yes, literally cupped my chin in his hand. The fuck is that? He demanded, voice deathly quiet as his blue eyes blazed with fire. What? I squeezed out, panic-stricken. Tipping my chin up, he brushed my hair off my shoulder and released a low growl. That, he growled, trailing his thumb over my cheekbone. And that, he added, skimming the curve of my eye. The contact was so gentle that it caused me to jump from nerves rather than pain. He dropped his hand from my face but remained exactly where he was standing, so close that I could see the vein ticking in his neck as he clenched and unclenched his jaw. Shannon, what happened to your face? Oh, that! Laughing nervously, I tucked my hair behind my ear. I immediately regretted the action when I felt the snot-like drool squelch between my fingers and hair. It wasn't bad enough to look like a homeless person. I had to go and add drool-soaked hair to the equation. Yeah, that, Johnny bit out, glaring at my cheek. Who did that to you? Nobody. I fell over my brother's Lego tower last night and almost poleaxed myself on the kitchen table. The line I had rehearsed to perfection for school tomorrow spilled from my mouth with the expert precision needed to sound believable. I'd been telling lies for so long about where the cuts and bruises on my body came from that the lie poured effortlessly from my lips. You expect me to believe that? Johnny stunned me by saying. I frowned up at him. That was a good line. It was a believable line. Why wasn't he taking it? Yes. I strangled out, flustered by his directness. Because that's what happened. He arched a brow. You're honestly telling me that you gave yourself a black eye? I shrugged noncommittedly. It happens. Not usually, he bit out. You must have been running full speed to smash yourself up like that. He added, eyes locked on mine in disbelief. Were you running? He asked. From something. He stepped closer. Or someone. Self-preservation roared to life inside of me. My 3 little brothers' faces the driving force behind my next words. What exactly are you trying to say? I'm not trying to say anything here, Shannon. He countered hotly. I'm asking you to tell me the truth. I am telling you the truth, I snapped, voice breaking. Stop pushing me. Tears prickled my eyes and I quickly batted them away. God! I felt terrible for lying to him especially, but I couldn't exactly turn around and say, oh, yeah, when my dad's full of drink, he likes to beat the shit out of me and throw me around like a rag doll. It was at that exact moment that the skies decided to open above us, delivering an onslaught of pelting March rain and soaking us both. Thankful for the downpour, I spun around and hurried back to the car. "Don't do that," Johnny called after me. "Don't go back in the bleeding car." I shook my head and yanked the door open. "I'm sorry, okay?" Johnny reached around me and closed the door again. "I won't push you." Spinning me around to face him, he said, "I won't say another word about it." He reached out to touch my face but quickly diverted his movements, cupping the back of his neck instead. "Okay?" Nodding, I released a ragged breath. "Okay." Johnny exhaled heavily, expression full of relief. "Now, will you come inside with me?" "I should probably just wait in the car," I mumbled, hardly able to look him in the eyes. I don't want to be intruding, unlike my idiot brother who apparently has no qualms about walking into strangers' houses and eating their food. "Firstly, I'm not a stranger to you, and you're not intruding on me," Johnny corrected gruffly as rain pelted down on us both. "Secondly, I'm inviting you into my house," he added, running a hand through his now soaked hair. "You're getting soaked." His gaze travelled over me once more before he inclined his head towards the house. "I want you to come inside." "Are you sure?" I croaked out. He nodded slowly. "Absolutely." Okay?" I whispered uncertainly. "If you're sure that you're sure?" "I'm sure that I'm sure," Johnny quipped. "Come on." Johnny spun around and hurried over to the front door, only to turn around and jog back to where I was rooted to the ground. He placed his hands on my shoulders and walked me into the house. "See?" he coaxed, when we were both inside with the huge door closed behind us. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" I shook my head. Johnny shook himself down like a dog would, causing raindrops to splatter everywhere. "You laughing at me, Shannon, like the river?" he teased, noticing my smile. I shook my head again. He smiled one of the big, double-dimpled smiles that caused my heart to spaz out before gesturing for me to follow him down the long entrance hall and into a spacious foyer with two huge archways on either side of the room, leading God knows where. Careful to keep my lips mashed together and not let my mouth fall open like I wanted to, I took in the enormous staircase that took centre stage, with its intricate wooden balusters, with the little lion heads carved on top. My gaze trailed upwards to the top of the staircase where both sides of the landing was clearly visible through the wooden banister rails that eventually joined the wall on either side. "It's an old house," Johnny said by way of explanation, "like 150 years or something." He looked uncomfortable as he spoke. "My mother didn't want to change the original design too much when we bought it. We renovated most of the rooms and put in a new kitchen, but Mum wanted to keep some of the original parts." Shrugging, he added, "She says the place has character or some shite like that." "She's right," I breathed, doing a full 360 turn so I could take in the ridiculously tall ceilings and crystal chandeliers. "I think you could fit my entire house in this hall." "Johnny!" Gibbsie's voice thundered from the archway on the left. "Grub's up!" "Are you hungry?" Johnny asked as he led me down the long hallway to the door at the end. "Knowing Gibbsie is after frying the contents of the fridge." I shook my head, my arms moving to wrap around my body almost protectively as I trailed after him. "I'm okay." The moment Johnny pushed the door of the kitchen open, we were bathed in sunlight and the delicious aroma of rashers cooking. "Hey, it's little Shannon," Gibbsie chirped, turning from his position at an impressive-looking stove range to smile and wave a spatula at me. "Did Johnny manage to coax you inside, or was it the smell of my fucking amazing cooking that drew you in?" "It's raining," I mumbled, biting back a shiver as the dampness from my clothes began to seep into my skin. "You cooked one egg, Gibbs, under my supervision." Joey, who was sitting on a stool at the centre island, piped up. "You're no Dorina Allen." "Thank fuck for that, Lynchy," With the frying pan in his hand, Gibbsy walked over to where my brother was sitting and slapped an egg onto his plate. I like my man parts. Reaching across the counter, Joey retrieved the tea-cosy covered teapot and poured 2 cups of tea before swinging the pot in our direction. Shan? Calves? Tea? Gibbs? Lynchy? Calves? This was typical Joey, sparking up a friendship as easily as he could snap his fingers. A sudden jolt of jealousy burned inside of me, the unfairness of how easy life was for my brother making me feel hard done by. That tinge of jealousy was quickly doused out by the huge tsunami of guilt that enveloped me. Joey didn't have anything easy. He made the best of every situation. He was just trying to survive like the rest of us. Can I get you a towel or something? Johnny offered in a low tone, gaze trailing over me. Frowning, he added, You're soaked. Holy shit, Joey barked then, startling me. What in the name of Jesus happened to you? Setting the teapot down, he stood up and stalked towards me. Leaning closer, Joey took a whiff of me and then quickly backed away. Jesus Christ, Shannon, he gagged. What did you roll in? Dog shit? Wow. Tactful, big brother, thanks a lot. No, I balked and then tried to sniff myself inconspicuously. I don't smell. You don't smell? Joey shot back mockingly. You're so right, my eyes are watering. God, Joey. My dog's mauled her. Johnny quickly interjected, running another hand through his hair. Droplets of water continued to drip from his broad shoulders to the tiles on the floor as he spoke. They knocked her down outside and rolled all over her. Huh, my brother bit out. Funny how my sister always seems to get mauled and knocked around when you're near her, Kavanagh. Johnny's jaw ticked, but he didn't respond. Turning his attention to me, Joey said, You need to get out of those wet clothes, Shan, before you get pneumonia. I opened my mouth to respond, but my brother continued without giving me a chance. Do you have something she can throw on? Joey asked, looking to Johnny. Or some bleach to mask that god-awful smell? Johnny nodded slowly. Yeah, I can find something. Or we can just leave, I offered, glaring at my brother, praying he would take the hint. We should go home, Joey. You're not getting into my girlfriend's car smelling like that, Joey shot back. Don't be a dickhead, I growled. Take me home. You guys can't go home yet. We haven't had tea and chats, Gibbsy piped up. And I have scones baking in the oven. You baked scones? I asked, momentarily distracted. You? Yes, me, Gibbsy shot back, looking slightly wounded. I'll have you know that I'm a wonderful baker. Sorry, I quickly replied, not wanting to offend him. You just don't strike me as a baker. Relax, I'm totally fucking with you, he laughed. I have no idea what I'm doing. He pointed to the stove and said, For all I know, those scones could be killers. Killer scones? I scrunched my nose up at the concept. Then I hope you won't mind if I pass. Gibbsy chuckled. I like you. He looked over my head and said, I like her, before returning his attention to me. But not the smell. He pegged his nose with his fingers and added, Your brother's right. You need to change. That's okay, I'm going home, I began to say, but once again I was interrupted, this time by Gibbsy. Johnny, she can take a shower here, can't she? My eyes bulged. What? Yeah, I guess. Johnny, who was still standing behind me, replied slowly. If she wants. Joey, who had returned to his perch at the island, nodded his head. Good idea, Gibbs. He agreed, between forkfuls of egg and sausage. Wash that wet dog smell off you before we have to drive home in small confines. I don't smell, I muttered. You stink, both Gibbsy and Joey said in unison. Fuck off the pair of you and leave her alone. Johnny piped up, sounding aggravated. She doesn't smell bad at all. You don't smell it because you're immune? Gibbsy retorted. Turning to Joey, he said, he lets the mutt sleep on his bed every night. Call my dog a mutt again and you'll be wearing that frying pan, Johnny warned. My sincerest apologies, lad. Gibbsy threw his hand up in retreat. I never meant to insult your precious pooch. Ignoring the snickering and banter, I swung around and stared up at Johnny. I'm so sorry about this. His attention flickered from the boys to me and stayed there. It's okay, Shannon. His voice was impassive, but his eyes were burning with something I was afraid to decipher because I had the distinct feeling that in this moment, my eyes mirrored his. You can wash up in my bathroom. No, honestly, it's okay. My face was burning with embarrassment. I don't have to shower in your house. Yeah, you fucking do, Joey called out. I meant it when I said you're not getting into Aoife's car like that. I could run a drag off you with the state you're in. For fuck's sake, Johnny snapped. Yanking the kitchen door open, he caught hold of my hand and practically dragged me down the hallway. Come on, he ordered. I'll look after you. Okay, I strangled out because, in all honesty, what hope did I have of saying no when a gigantic rugby player was dragging me through his house? For the record, Johnny called over his shoulder as he tugged me up the staircase, turning right when we reached the upstairs landing. I don't think you smell that bad. Thank you? I strangled out, unsure of the appropriate response to a boy telling you that you don't smell that bad, and too out of breath to come up with anything better. He was moving fast, my hand still wrapped in his, and I had to run to keep up with his long strides. He didn't stop moving until we were at the end of the landing and standing outside a closed door. I noted that we had passed at least half a dozen other doors on this section of the landing, but I was too lightheaded from trying to keep up with him to really take stock of my surroundings. Releasing my hand, Johnny pushed the door inwards and stepped inside, gesturing for me to follow him. I did, and it was like stepping into a bedroom version of the Hall of Fame. The room was huge. The walls were blue, and the enormous four-poster bed took centre stage. There was an entertainment centre opposite the bed that resembled a miniature cinema, but none of those details were what stuck out in my mind. It was the rows upon rows of trophies and medals ordaining the walls that had my immediate attention. Framed jerseys littered the walls along with several peculiar-looking caps and posters of the Irish rugby team. There was a huge oak desk settled in the space at the far wall between two windows. On top of the desk was an expensive-looking laptop and heaps of schoolbooks and exam papers. Above it hung a huge corkboard mounted to the wall. Stuck to the board were countless photographs of different celebrity athletes, all of whom Johnny was standing beside in the pictures. So, Johnny said with a shrug, this is my room. He walked over to his bed and kicked several items of clothes under it. It's a nice room, I replied, chewing on my lips as I glanced around. In typical teenage boy fashion, it was a complete mess with the mandatory posters of semi-naked girls with humongous breasts ordaining the walls. Clothes were strewn everywhere, and PlayStation controllers and games littered the floor by the TV, beside a couple of leather beanbags. You can shower in here, Johnny said then. Shaking his head, he burst into action, moving for a door in the left corner of the room, near his bed. If you're sure? I squeezed out, feeling incredibly intimidated to be standing in his personal space and potentially removing all my clothes. We were virtual strangers. It seemed wrong to be in his space. Seemed wrong, but felt so right. Yeah, no problem, he replied quickly, opening the door for me. He poked his head inside for a brief moment before popping back out. There's fresh towels on the rack. Use whatever you like. Holy crap. This was crazy. It was too surreal. I left my house this morning to buy some hash browns and a can of Coke, and now I was standing in Johnny Kavanagh's bedroom about to take a shower in his ensuite bathroom. How was this even happening? Do you want me to throw your clothes in the dryer while you're in the shower? He asked, startling me back to the present. My clothes. My hands moved to my middle and I quickly shook my head. No, that's okay. He nodded stiffly and I watched him kick several more items of clothes under his bed. I'd give you something of my mother's, but she locks her clothes room when she travels. Her clothes room? Yeah, my ma, she works with clothes. Johnny shifted uncomfortably. It's more of a giant fucking wardrobe of a room, if you ask me, but she calls it her office. He smirked then, clearly thinking about something funny. Gibbs broke in there one time and wrecked some important piece for a new line she was working on, so she keeps it locked when she's in London now. Your mam designs clothes? Yeah. My eyes widened. Like a fashion designer? Johnny nodded. In London? Another nod. Really? Yeah. Whoa. What's your father? I muttered. A doctor? No, he's a barrister. He replied without batting an eyelid. Jesus. His mother was a fashion designer and his father was a bloody high-class lawyer? Well, at least that explains the mansion I'm standing inside. Johnny's gaze darted to his bedside locker then, and he hurried over and yanked open the top drawer before sweeping the contents on top into the drawer. I'll go and find you something of mine you can change into. He mumbled, cheeks turning slightly pink as he shoved the drawer closed and kicked a bunch of papers that had toppled off his locker under the bed. I'll leave some clothes on the bed just in case you want to. Just pick whatever you want. I hesitated, taking one step forward and 3 steps back before taking a deep breath and walking over to the bathroom door. Johnny stepped aside for me to pass, but he was so big that I still managed to brush against him. Thanks, Johnny, I whispered, before hurrying into his bathroom with a raging case of hormones and a hammering heart. You're welcome, Shannon, I heard him say just before I clicked the door shut. Oh, Jesus. What the hell was happening?
Chapter 35. Answers. Johnny. I've a question. Joey, the hoarder. I snarled when I stalked back into the kitchen, having deposited his naked sister in my shower. Go for it, Mr. Rugby. Joey shot back, unfazed. I swung my gaze to Gibbsy and gestured to the door. I need a minute, Gibbs. My best friend must have seen the fury in my eyes because for once in his life he didn't make a smart comment or crack a joke. He just stood up and walked out of the kitchen, closing the door behind him. Now, I said when we were alone, eyes locked on Joey. Who the fuck's putting her hands on your sister? Joey's brow shut up. Yeah, you heard me, I growled. I found her on her hands and knees at school on Friday, throwing her guts up. I ran my hand through my hair, furious and beyond agitated. Something's happening to her, and I want to know who it is. Why? Because I want to fix it. Why? Because no one should be putting their goddamn anything on her. I barked. What did she tell you? He asked calmly. That she fell over on Legos, I bit out. Fell over on Legos, my ass. Fell into a fist was more like it. Joey studied me with sharp green eyes for the longest moment before nodding. If Shannon says that's what happened, then that's what happened. No, don't give me that shit, I hissed, frustrated. This isn't the first time. I've seen her remarks. I distinctly remember a red mark on her face a couple of weeks ago, and that mark on the back of her neck on Friday. What's happening to her? Joey leaned back on his stool, eyeing me with a superior fucking expression I hated. He knew something I didn't, and it was driving me insane. Yeah, I wasn't sure I liked Joey the hoarder that much anymore. Who's hurting your sister? I repeated. He needed to give me something before I jumped in conclusions and kicked his ass. Is it those pricks from your school? Did they get her for what I did at the bar on Friday? Was it them? I demanded. Those girls? Joy remained silent. Is she hurting herself? I asked. He continued to stare at me. Are you hurting her? He arched a brow. Lad, you better start talking, because brother or no brother, I will kick your fucking ass. You need to talk to Shannon, he finally said. I can't give you the answers you want. Yes, you can, I snapped. Just open your mouth and speak. No. He shook his head. I can't and I won't. If she trusts you enough, she'll tell you. If she doesn't, she doesn't. Either way, it's not my call. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? I demanded, furious. Not your call. Exactly what it sounds like, Joey countered. It means it's not my call. But I can assure you that I've never put my hands on my sister, he added, giving me a hard glare. Or any other woman for that matter. I want to know what's going on here, Lynch, I snapped, striving for every piece of control I could muster. If she's been bullied or some shit like that, then I can help. I can fix this, if you tell me. His brows rose. You can fix this? For her, I nodded determinedly. Absolutely. You like her? He arched another brow at me and tilted his head to one side. Maybe even more than like her. I didn't bother denying it. Not to him. This wasn't Gibbsy, or one of the lads at school trying to get their eyes out of me. This was her brother. I know better than to spew bullshit in this moment. I want to know what's happening, was all I replied. I need to. Listen, I'd love to tell you, Joey finally said with a heavy sigh. I'd have no problem laying it all out there before you. I've nothing to hide. But she, he pointed at the door behind me, won't want me to do that. She would die if she thought anyone knew her business. After all the shit that went down on her at BCS. She wants that clean slate of Tommen. I want that for her too. So she is being bullied. My heart fucking sank. Someone at Tommen? If someone at my school did that to her face, then I was going to burn the fucking school down. Or from her old school. I had a hard time believing those creeps from the bar would be stupid enough to pull another stunt with her. Call me full of myself. But I scared the shit out of them on Friday. Joey stared hard at me for the longest moment before shaking his head. Listen, Kavanagh, finally said. If you want to know what goes on inside the head of horse, then be worth it. Be worth it? I frowned at his words. Be worth what? You're a smart guy, he shot back. You'll figure it out. I shook my head. I don't. My words were cut off by the sound of Joey's phone as it rang loudly. Calm as a breeze, he held a finger up and dragged his phone out of his pocket, glanced at the screen, then muttered a string of curses before pressing it to answer. What the fuck do you want? He snapped. Jerking off his stool, Joey walked over to the stove and turned his back to me while he spoke in a hushed tone. No, you were told. There's no back. I don't give two shits how sorry you are. No. She's where? I watched as Joey's entire frame stiffened. I strained to hear the person on the other line, but it was impossible. When did that happen? And the baby? Okay, no. What the fuck do you want me to say? Why would I be sad? It's a goddamn relief, is what it is. Fine. Yeah, I'll be there. I just said I'll be there, didn't I? Joey glanced behind him and caught me staring. I arched a brow, not particularly giving a shite that he knew I was eavesdropping. That's what I was doing. I wasn't about to deny it. I'll be there, Joey said in a low tone. I'm on my way. With that, he ended the call and shoved his phone back in his pocket. I need to take off, he said in that calm, cool, and collected tone of his. Take off? I gaped at him. Where? I've somewhere I need to be, was all he replied, and then moved to the door. Hold the fuck up, I ordered, stepping in his way. Your sister is in the shower. Yeah. He rubbed his jaw and said, I'm going to need you to hold on to her for me. Hold on to her? I shook my head, struggling to comprehend what the fuck was happening. You just want me to hold on to your sister? That's what I said, wasn't it? Joey shot back tightly. You're not saying anything, I snarled. That's the problem. You're not telling me shit. I did tell you, he snapped. I told you to ask Shannon. So you're what? Just going to leave her here? I demanded. For how long? I don't know, Joey shot back. You don't know? Yeah, I don't fucking know, he spat. Is that the problem? It's not a problem that she's here, I growled. It's a problem that you're leaving her here and I have no goddamn idea what to tell her. Fine, Joey snapped, glaring at me with blazing green eyes. Tell my sister her father just called. Her mother had a miscarriage on Friday night, and he's on his way home from the hospital with her now. Shite, I muttered. You've no fucking idea, Joey bit out, as he shoved past me and stormed down the hallway. Do you want me to bring her straight home? I asked, having no goddamn clue how to deal with this. I followed after him, feeling at a complete loss. Or take her to the hospital. I want you to hold fucking on to her, Joey roared, stopping at the front door. He spun round and glared up at me. Can you do that, Johnny Kavanagh? Can you look after my sister for me? Yeah, I bit out. Not liking his tone, but knowing he must be feeling some kind of grief. I can. Good, he snapped. I'll call when I can to sort out picking her up. Just keep her until I call you, okay? Sort out picking her up? The fuck did he think his sister was? A bleeding package? Knowing this guy must be going through hell right now, I simply nodded and tapped my number into the phone he held out for me and handed it back to him. Gussie, Joey barked, sliding his phone back into his pocket. I'm leaving now, if you want to spin into town for your car. Gibbsy popped his head out from the living room door. Everything okay? He asked, looking between us in confusion. Go on, I told Gibbsy, gesturing for him to follow Joey, who was stalking down the driveway to his car. You're sure? I nodded stiffly. Thankfully, Gibbsy had the good sense not to ask questions. Instead, he gave me a quick salute and hurried after Shannon's brother. Exhaling a ragged breath, I walked over to the door and closed it quickly. What the fuck was I going to do?
Chapter 36. Bad news. Shannon. It took me a ridiculous amount of time to get the temperature right in Johnny's shower, because apparently he liked to incinerate his skin when showering. When I finally got the temperature down to a bearable heat and felt the power jets wash over my body, I had a hard time getting out. Seriously, his shower was amazing. It was a combo, a bath with an overhead shower, and I had to stand in an oval-shaped tub with a curtain drawn across, but I swear it only added to the most luxuriating wash of my life. Using his shampoo and soap felt weirdly inappropriate, like it wasn't something I should be doing. But I was filthy and definitely smelly, so I lathered my body with samples from every available fancy-looking bottle on the rack. When I was finally clean and smelling like boy's body wash, rather than wet dog, I climbed out, wrapped myself in a fresh towel, and bundled my dirty clothes in a ball. The smell wafting from my clothes was so gross that I immediately dropped the bundle and had to breathe through my mouth for several moments to stop myself from gagging. Joey and Gibbsy were right. I really did stink. There was no way I could put anything I owned back on without projectile vomiting. Pressing my ear against it, I listened carefully to make sure his bedroom was empty before unlocking the door and stepping out. Seeing that it was empty, I exhaled a sigh of relief and tiptoed over to his bed to where a massive pile of clothes was strewn in a heap on the edge of the mattress. Tucking my damp hair over one shoulder, I began to sort through the pile of clothes he had laid out for me. Sifting through half a dozen t-shirts, I grabbed the smallest one. That happened to be the size XL. It was blue in colour, soft to the touch, and it smelled like Johnny. I quickly shrugged it on. The hem fell to my mid-thigh, the short sleeves reaching my elbows, letting me know that I was practically a hobbit in comparison to him. Shivering from the cold, I moved on to rummage through the bottoms, my anxiety rising with every ginormous pair of sweatpants I picked up. I held one pair against my body and released a frustrated sob when they reached my chest. My eyes landed on the pair of white boxer shorts strewn in the middle of the pile, and I blew out a breath. Did he mean to leave those there? Were they meant for me? Was that weird? Holy hell, were they Calvin Klein's? On closer inspection, I confirmed that they were indeed designer boxer shorts. My knickers came in a pack of 7 for a £5. In this moment, I was acutely aware of our social differences. His mother was a fashion designer, for God's sake. Mine was a cleaner. His father was a barrister. Mine spent plenty of time in court too, on the other side of the law. His house reeked of money and luxury. Mine reeked of whiskey and pain. I looked to the sweatpants in my hands and then back to the elastic-waisted boxers on the bed. If anything belonging to Johnny was going to even remotely fit me, it would be those. Trying not to think about it too much, I reached for the boxers and quickly stepped into them and pulled them up. I presumed they were the snug-fitting boxers, but on me, they were loose and baggy. However, they were staying on my hips. What are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Johnny's penis has touched these things. And now your vagina has. You're practically having sex with him. Uncertainty took over then, and I quickly yanked them off before snatching the sweatpants back up and stepping into them. Like I predicted, his sweatpants were enormous on me, coming up to my chest, and the moment I let go of the waistband, they fell to my ankles. Yanking them back up, I clutched the waistband and shuffled awkwardly into the bathroom, trying not to trip over the legs in the process. Retrieving my hair tie from where I'd left it on the shower rack, I tied a loose knot at the side of the pants and secured them up. For about 2 seconds, until they dropped to the floor again. Morose, I yanked the boxer shorts back on, ignored the voice in my head telling me that this was wrong, retrieved my hair tie from the traitor sweatpants, and tied a firm knot in the boxers. Unsure of what to do next, I returned to his room and began to fold the discarded clothes. I had no bloody idea why I was doing this, but I had a feeling he wouldn't, and I didn't want him to be left with wrinkled clothes because he dragged them all out of his wardrobe for my benefit. I was folding the last t-shirt on Johnny's bed when I noticed something sticking out from under his bed. Something that looked just like me. Bending down, I retrieved the newspaper with shaky hands and just stared at the picture of us. He kept it. In his room. Under his bed. My heart leapt against my chest. It doesn't mean anything. It's a nice picture, that's all. Don't read into this. I was completely absorbed in my thoughts when a low groaning noise came from somewhere close by. Dropping the newspaper on the floor, I remained completely still and listened carefully. A few seconds later, the groaning noise came again. From the bed. Freaked out, I grabbed a random folded t-shirt in my hands with a death grip and lowered my face to where his duvet was balled up at the foot of the bed. I was certain that's where the groaning came from. "Hello?" I whispered, eyes locked on the duvet. It moved in response, the quilt moving back and forth rapidly. "Oh my God!" I screamed, staggering backwards. Dropping Johnny's t-shirt on the floor, I pressed a hand to my chest and watched the bed like it was a scene straight out of the Poltergeist. "Is someone in there?" I asked when my voice returned. I had to be imagining this. It hadn't really moved. I was just hyper-alert. I was losing my bloody mind. "Hello?" The duvet moved again. "Oh my God!" The duvet started to rise up. Oh, screw that! This time when I screamed, it was at the top of my lungs as I lunged away from the bed. Knocking up against the chest of drawers behind me, I lost my balance and sprawled face first on the floor, grazing my chin on the hardwood floor in the process. Undeterred by my faceplant, I scrambled to my feet, only to collapse in a tangled heap when my feet got stuck in his giant pants that I'd forgotten to pick up. Kicking my foot free and still screaming my head off, I dragged myself off the floor and bolted for the bedroom door. It swung inwards at the same time I was pulling at the handle, and I was greeted with a bewildered-looking Johnny. "What's wrong?" he demanded, eyes flashing with concern. "Shannon, the fuck happened?" "There's something in your room!" I screamed, lunging at him. "Oh my God!" I half sobbed, half screamed as I crawled up his huge frame and wrapped my arms and legs around him. "You have to save me!" "What do you mean, there's something in my room?" Johnny demanded as his arms came around my waist. "Shannon!" He tried to pry me off him, but I held on tighter, clenching my thighs and arms as tight as I could. Exhaling heavily, he rubbed my back with one hand and asked in a much softer tone, "What happened?" "There's something in your bed." Clenching my eyes shut, I clung to his body for all I was worth. "Under the covers," I strangled out as a huge shudder rolled through me. "I'm not messing. I saw it move. Twice." I buried my face in his neck and choked out, "I think you have a ghost in your bed." "Shannon, I don't have a ghost in my bed," Johnny replied, sounding amused now. "Yes, you do," I snapped, shuddering again. "I saw it, and don't laugh at me." "I'm not laughing at you," he told me, while he laughed. "Come on, I'll prove it to you. There's no ghost in here." He moved to walk into the room, and my hands shot out, gripping the door frame to stop him. "Take me home," I begged, wide-eyed and horrified. "Please, don't bring me in there. I am terrified, Johnny." He brought me back in anyway, marching into the room with me, locked around him like a baby monkey. "Look at your ghost, Shannon." He chuckled when we reached the bed. "I can't." I closed my eyes and shook my head, burying my face back in the crook of his neck. "I don't want to see." He smelled so good. Whatever cologne he was wearing was wafting up my nose, so at least I could die smelling something wonderful. A bark filled my ears then, stalling me mid-meltdown. "Hey, baby," Johnny cooed. "You scared the shite out of my friend here." "Baby?" Slowly I lifted my head and turned to face the bed. A black Labrador poked out from beneath the duvet. A tsunami of relief crashed through me, followed swiftly by a generous dollop of reality. The dog nudged me from under the covers, tail wagging so hard it slapped against the mattress. "Shannon, this is Suki." Johnny chuckled. "Your ghost." "Oh." Unlocking my arms and legs, I slid down his body, every inch of my skin flaming with embarrassment. "Oh, that makes more sense." Feeling lightheaded, I sank down on the edge of his bed, pressed my hand to my chest, and exhaled a tremulous breath. "Your dog," I panted, breathing hard. Sleeps in your bed? It wasn't a question. I was just trying to piece everything together. I said hi, and she wagged her tail. I thought she was a ghost, Johnny offered, smirking. I shook my head. Don't make jokes, I whispered, still shivering as the adrenaline inside of me slowly dissipated. Not yet. Suki touched her wet nose to my bare thigh and nuzzled gently, distracting me. Look at you, I whispered, giving her my full attention. It was clear from the white hair on her face that she was an old dog. You're so sweet. Reaching over, I placed my hand on her head and stroked lightly. Now, this one is sweet, Johnny stated. She's mine, and much better behaved than the other two. Well, Suki, you almost gave me a heart attack with your impressive hiding skills, I added, feeling my heart slowly return to its natural rhythm. But you're still very sweet. Are you okay? Johnny asked, tone serious now. I felt the mattress shift beside me, but I didn't look up from his dog. I should have warned you that she was in here, he added. I'm just so used to her that I totally forgot. She can pass out for hours up here. It's okay, I whispered, keeping my attention on Suki. It's okay or you're okay? I chewed on my lip and thought about it for a moment before saying, It's okay, and I will be okay. Dropping my head in my hands, I let out a low groan. God, I'm so embarrassed. Did you guys hear me screaming all the way down in the kitchen? Actually, it was just me. He replied. I was on the way up to talk to you when I heard you scream. My heartbeat quickened. Talk to me? Yeah, your brother had to take off while you were in the shower. Joey's gone? I croaked out, feeling a sudden surge of panic race through me. Is something wrong? Johnny nodded and clasped his hands together, elbows resting on his huge thighs. What is it? I squeezed out. Tell me, Johnny. It's your ma, Shannon. He finally said, tone gruff. What about my mam? I whispered. Oh my God, is she dead? No, fuck no, Johnny hurried to say. Turning to face me, he exhaled a pained sigh, took my trembling hand in his big warm one and said, She had a miscarriage. She had a miscarriage. Your mother has lost the baby, Shannon. Feel something? Feel something, damn it! I was dead on the inside. I had to be. That or I was downright evil. There was no other explanation for it. Feeling relief over the loss of a pregnancy was the most disgusting, horrible, unforgivable crime on the face of the planet. And that's the first thing I felt when those words came out of Johnny's mouth. An overwhelming swell of sheer relief washed over my body for the briefest of moments as my brain registered the gratitude encompassing my heart at the knowledge that another child wouldn't be born into this hell. It was bad enough that we had been born into this life. I'm so fucking sorry, Shannon, Johnny said, squeezing my hand. I hate that I had to tell you that. Is she okay? I croaked out when words found me. Johnny nodded. Your brother said she's okay, and that she had the miscarriage on Friday, although you probably already knew that she was in the... Yeah. I quickly lied to cover up the carnage, feeling tears prickle my eyes as disgust and self-hatred took over. We knew there was a problem. Was that what happened? Was that where she went? Was she all alone in the hospital all weekend and none of us knew? We were bitching about her being a bad mother and she was lying in a hospital bed losing her baby. Oh, God. Of course. Johnny nodded and exhaled another sigh. Joey told me to tell you that your dad is picking her up from the hospital and that they'll both be home soon. My body froze. The weighted pain and fearful anticipation settled down on my shoulders like an old friend's hand. That's how familiar I was with the feeling of fear. My heart could not have sunk any further if I'd tied weights to it and dropped it into the ocean. He was back. Why was he back? Why couldn't he just go away forever? Your brother wants you to stay here for a while. He said he would call when he can come get you. Johnny paused before adding, but I can take you home whenever you want, okay? Joey shouldn't have put you in that position, I croaked out, wrestling to keep my emotions at bay. I'm so sorry about this. I stood up to leave. I can go now. Shannon. Johnny's hand snaked out and wrapped around my wrist. I don't want you to go, he said gruffly, tugging me back down beside him. I want you here. He rested a hand on the bed right behind my back and leaned close. I want you to stay with me. I shook my head, unable to form a single word. I had a horrible taste in my mouth. It matched the one in the pit of my stomach. Impending doom, I acknowledged. That's what I was tasting and feeling right now. My father was back. Once I left his house and returned to mine, the vicious, never-ending circle would continue. Suddenly, I never wanted to leave this room. Do not cry, Shannon Lynch, I warned myself. Do not shed another tear. I dropped my head and blinked like crazy, desperately trying to fight back the tears threatening to spill down my cheeks in big fat drops. It didn't work. One tear slid down my cheek, followed in quick succession by another and then another. I'm going to hug you, Johnny whispered in my ear. Tell me if that's not okay. Sniffling, I turned inwards and buried my face in his side, answering his question with actions. Johnny's arms came around me, pulling me close, and I clutched his shirt in my hand, fisting the fabric tightly as sobs racked through my body. I'm here for you, he told me, voice gruff and thick, as his hand moved in slow circles over my back. If you need someone to talk to. He pulled me closer. I'm right here. I couldn't stop crying, and I wasn't sure if it was the fear of facing my father pushing me over the edge, or my mother's miscarriage, or the emotions building up inside of me because of this boy whose arms I was currently in. Unable to get a handle on myself, and desperately seeking the comfort and safety that oozed from him in waves, I did something incredibly reckless. I crawled onto his lap. Johnny's entire frame tensed, and his hands fell away from his body, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. With my knees on either side of his thighs, I wrapped my arms around him and buried my face in his neck. What do you want me to do, Shannon? Johnny strangled out. Tell me what to do here. Hold me, I sobbed, burying my face in his neck. Don't let go. Okay. His large hand cupped the back of my head, and his other moved to my back as he held me to his chest, slowly rocking me on his lap. I won't, he whispered, folding me up in his arms. Trembling, I clung to his body and prayed for him to be my strength in this moment, because I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't live like this. I was so alone. All my life. I was so scared. Chapter 37. It's your birthday, Shannon. I spent a solid 20 minutes wrapped up in Johnny's arms as I desperately tried to get a handle on my emotions. Finally, when I didn't feel like I had another tear left inside of my body to shed, I pulled back to look at him. His blue eyes burned with sympathy as he watched me carefully. Hi, I sniffled, feeling embarrassed. Hi, Johnny said gruffly as he smoothed my damp hair back off my face and over my shoulder. Thanks, I croaked out, resisting the urge to press my cheek into his hand. For what? He asked thickly, tucking loose strands of hair behind my ears. Holding me and not letting me go, I offered weakly. He smiled sadly. Any time. Do you want me to go now? I asked, feeling uncertain, now that I've drenched your shirt and neck. Johnny shook his head and repeated those same words from earlier. I want you to stay with me. You do? I sniffled, tightening my hold on his neck. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I do. Okay, I whispered, heart racing violently. Do you want to talk about it? He asked then, blue eyes burning holes in mine. I quickly shook my head, knowing that I wanted to block it all out and concentrate on the one good thing in my life. Him. Johnny eyed me warily. You're sure? I want to forget about it, I confessed. I don't even want to think about it. Not at all. At least until I have to go home and face it. If that's what you want, then that's what we'll do, Johnny replied huskily. I sagged in relief. This boy. God. Are you hungry? He offered then, releasing my hips and removing the comforting feeling of his hands on my skin. My stomach growled at his offer as I reluctantly climbed off his lap. I'll take that as a yes, Johnny said with a small chuckle. Shaking his head, he stood up and helped Suki off the bed before turning to smile down at me. Come on, Shannon, like the river. He inclined his head towards the door. Let me feed you. On shaky legs, I trailed after Johnny and Suki, wandering down the long hallway to the ginormous staircase. I had to fight the smile threatening to break free when Johnny stopped at the top of the staircase to scoop up Suki, and then proceeded to carry the huge 80-pound minimum Labrador down the stairs like she was a baby cradled in his arms. Smiling, I followed after them. Arthritis, he explained in an embarrassed tone when he caught me staring. Old age. He set her down carefully when he reached the ground floor, and watched her waddle off down the hall before adding, But she's young at heart. The minute my bare feet touched the cold tiles, I yelped and jumped back onto the carpeted step. God, I squeaked, shivering. The floor is so cold. Hang on, Johnny said, and then bounded back up the staircase, only to return a few minutes later holding a pair of socks. He handed me the socks, and I sat down on the step to slip them on. Thanks, I whispered, pulling the huge black socks on my feet. Lo and behold, they were Nike brand socks, and not the fake ones either. No problem, Johnny replied, watching me. Scratching his jaw, he added, I don't know why I didn't think of socks. It's okay, I assured him, pulling them up to my calves before standing up. I shrugged helplessly and gestured to my bare legs covered only at the thighs by his boxer shorts. I couldn't keep your pants up. His lips twitched in amusement. No? I shook my head, cheeks burning. I'm too small. That's okay, he replied gruffly. I like it. You like it? I mean, He shook his head and exhaled a sigh. I don't mind. Will your parents mind? I tucked my hair behind my ear nervously. They won't think... No, Johnny replied, but he sounded distracted. Are you sure? His gaze roamed over me then, making my skin flood with heat. No, it's good. My brows shot up. Good? He blushed, causing me to blush a much deeper shade of red. Oh, God. It's just us, he added with a cough. Ma won't be back until the morning. Oh, okay. So, what are you in the mood for? Johnny asked, thankfully veering the subject back to food. I'm not fussy, I mumbled, following him down a long hallway to the door at the end. I hovered in the doorway, admiring the beautiful, modernly designed kitchen in front of me. It looked nothing like the rest of the house that was traditional and majestic. Thank God, Johnny replied, drawing my attention to where he was standing at a huge black marble island, checking his phone. Because my kitchen skills are pretty fucking basic, and Gibbsy cleared out the fridge earlier. I can cook? I offered shyly. What? No. He quickly dismissed, give me a rueful smile. You're my guest. You're not cooking for me. I don't mind, I replied. Well, I do. He told me as he tossed his phone on the counter and gave me his full attention. Toasted sandwich good for you? I smiled brightly. Sounds great. Good choice. He chuckled, because it was sandwiches or cereal. We can just have cereal, I offered. I don't mind. Johnny winked and said, We'll go hard and have both. I didn't protest. I was more than happy to hoof down whatever was put in front of me. Do you drink tea? Only by the bucketful, I replied with a smile. Barry's tea bags with 2 sugars and a small drop of milk. He chuckled. So you're a tea girl, not coffee. I gagged. Ugh, I hate coffee. Johnny grinned and pointed to the large marble island in the middle of the kitchen. Sit down, he instructed as he moved to the cupboards and began to dig around. I'll throw the sandwiches in the toaster and we can have the cereal while we're waiting. Thanks for this, I said quietly. For what? He asked as he prepared the sandwiches in record time. Cooking for me, I replied, watching Johnny's back as he worked. He was wearing a grey t-shirt and the fabric of his shirt stretched gloriously over the span of his broad back. I'd hardly call a ham and sandwich toasty cooking for you, Johnny shot back with a wolfish grin. Well, no one ever cooks for me, so I appreciate it, I told him, still hovering in the doorway. I do most of the cooking at home. Yeah? He sounded surprised. Why's that? Because I'm the only girl, I mumbled, and most of the housework falls on my shoulders. So? Johnny replied, still with his back to me. Having a vagina doesn't automatically tie you to a cooker. Or a fucking Hoover. He shook his head. Christ. If I even thought about pulling that sexist shite on my ma, she'd cut my balls off. That's a healthy way to approach life, I told him, thrilled by his words. That's the only way to approach life, he corrected. We're in the 21st century, he added, not the 1800s. He placed the sandwiches in the toaster and swung around to face me. You can sit down, Shannon, he said gently. It's okay. Okay. Padding over to the island, I moved for one of the stools only to flame in embarrassment when I couldn't hoist myself up. I tried again and failed miserably. Is there a spring to lower this? I knew I was small, but this was just ridiculous. The leather seat of the stool was grazing my ribcage. Huh? Johnny called over his shoulder as he rummaged around in the fridge with a box of cereal tucked under his arm. The stool, I replied, red-faced. I can't reach. He cast a quick glance over his shoulder and smirked when he noticed my predicament. There was, he explained, walking over to me. He placed a box of Cheerios and a pint of milk on the island. But Gibbsy has a habit of breaking everything he touches. Without a hint of warning, Johnny grabbed my hips and lifted me onto the stool. He likes to pretend he's a rocket taken off, he added, unaware of how affected I was by his touch. Strolling over to another cupboard, he retrieved 2 bowls and then pulled open a drawer and grabbed 2 spoons. Fucker broke all 6 stools within a week of my ma buying them. He set the spoons and bowls down on the island and smirked at me. They're all stuck on full height. I arched a brow. Are you mocking me? Johnny grinned. I would never. Pushing a bowl and spoon towards me, he added, Cheerios work for a starter. I have Rice Krispies if you prefer. Cheerios work. Johnny settled down on the stool next to mine and reached for the box of cereal. His arm brushed against mine as he poured cereals into both of our bowls, and I shivered again. Are you cold? He asked, turning to look at me. I shook my head. I'm okay. You sure? He asked, pouring milk once again into both of our bowls. I nodded. Are you sure your parents won't mind that I'm here? He frowned. Why would they mind? I don't know, I hurried to say. It's okay, he He reassured me. They won't mind. Yeah, okay. Unable to take the heat of his stare, I dropped my gaze to my bowl. I suppose they're used to you having girls over. What's that supposed to mean? He asked, tone a little sharp. Nothing. Flushing, I snatched up my spoon and shoveled a spoonful of Cheerios into my mouth. Shannon? Johnny asked, eyes still trained on my face. I shrugged helplessly. I don't bring girls here. You don't? No, he confirmed. I don't. What about Bella? The words were out of my mouth before I had a chance to take them back. What about Bella? He asked with a frown. Don't you have, like, a thing with her? Johnny's frown deepened. That's in the past. I'm sorry. I scooped up a spoon of cereal, chewed and then swallowed before adding, You two were going out for a long time, so I just presumed she would have been at your house. Johnny turned and gave me a blank expression. Were we? I frowned. Were you not? He shrugged and turned his attention back to his bowl. No. Oh, okay. I mumbled, thoroughly confused. We weren't together like that, Shannon, Johnny explained before shoveling a huge spoonful of cereal into his mouth. Then how was it? I asked. You and her? I knew I should stop rooting for information, but I couldn't help myself. I had to know. Johnny shoveled another spoonful of cereal into his mouth, chewed on it for a moment, and then swallowed before turning to look at me. Honestly? I nodded. It was physical. He admitted, looking uncomfortable. It was just sex, Shannon. Just sex, I repeated. My words were barely more than a whisper. Yeah, he replied. And before you say it, I know how it sounds. But it's the truth, and it was the same for her. So don't go thinking I'm the bad guy, and that she wanted anything more from me either, because she absolutely didn't. And you know that for sure? Yeah, I do. He shot back a little defensively now. She wasn't interested in me as a person. She was happy with what I could do on a pitch and under a skirt. It was purely physical, and when I couldn't give her what she wanted, she moved on to my teammate. That's pretty terrible, I whispered, cheeks burning. Yeah, well, sometimes things aren't all rose-tinted. He grumbled. Sometimes fucking is just fucking. You can stop talking about it now, I whispered, pushing my bowl away. You're right, he groaned, dropping his spoon back into his bowl. You don't need to be listening to this. You're only 15, for Christ's sake. He shook his head. The fuck am I thinking talking about this kind of shite with you? I'm 16, I informed him, and I'm not a child. Johnny's head snapped towards me, expression wary. You're 15. No, I'm not, I corrected. I'm 16. Johnny frowned. Since when? Since today, I replied. Johnny gaped at me. It's your birthday. I shrugged. Why didn't you say anything? I don't know, I shrugged again. Slipped my mind? Shannon, come on. Because it isn't a big deal, I hurried to dismiss. It's just another day. A bad day. Terrible day. Brightened only because I'm with you. No, Shannon, Johnny argued, looking like he was at a complete loss. It is a big deal. Johnny, today's my birthday. I reeled off, embarrassed. There you go. I wish I'd known earlier. He grumbled. I would have bought you a present. I don't need a present, I strangled out, heart fluttering. Don't be silly. Johnny shook his head and muttered, Yeah, well, if you'd told me, I could have given you something better than a bowl of bleeding Cheerios. And a toasted sandwich, I offered weakly. Johnny sighed heavily. And a toasted sandwich. Shouldn't they be ready now? I asked. Shite. Shoving his stool back, Johnny hurried over to the sandwich maker and pulled them out. Not quite cremated. he announced with a frown. But they're well on their way. It's fine, I assured him as I jumped down from the stool. I like them crispy. Lifting both of our bowls, I moved to the sink to clean up. Don't even think about it, Johnny warned as he plated our sandwiches. Think about what? I asked, confused. You're not cleaning a bleeding thing on your birthday, he stated, holding a plate in each hand. I don't mind. And your face. He shook his head. And your ma. Christ, it's your birthday. You said we could forget it, I strangled out, feeling my voice tremble as panic set in. I did not want to think about it. I knew what was coming when I left the house, and I wanted to forget. For a couple of more hours, I wanted to pretend that hell wasn't waiting for me on the other side of his front door. Johnny looked like he wanted to fight with me, but he shook his head and exhaled a low growl. You're right. Sorry, he finally said. Drop the bowls in the sink and come with me. I'll sort it out later. It went against my nature to leave a mess behind me, but I complied with Johnny's instructions and followed him back down the hallway into a large sitting room with a roaring fire already burning in the fireplace. Without thinking about it, I moved straight forward, groaning in relief when the heat wafted against my bare legs and hands. Johnny set the plates down on the glass table in front of the fire and then dragged the couch over from the wall, setting it right in front of the fireplace. You don't have to do that for my benefit, I hurried to say. It's freezing out, he explained, and this house is so big it takes forever to heat. Waving a hand in front of the couch, he said, Make yourself at home. I'll be back in a sec. Without another word, Johnny walked out, leaving me all alone in this enormous living room. Too stunned to do anything but stare, I remained by the fire, warming my back and wrangling my emotions into touch. When Johnny returned a few minutes later, he was carrying 2 mugs of tea. 2 sugars and a small drop of milk, he announced with a wink, setting the mugs down next to our plates. Thank you, I whispered, overwhelmed by his kindness. Johnny sat down on one end of the couch then and arched a brow at me. After a couple of minutes of internal debate, I gingerly followed him, taking the other end of the couch, leaving a space between us. Grabbing the remote, Johnny flicked on the television that was mounted on the wall above the fireplace. It was huge, at least 80 inches. Any preferences? He asked me, scrolling through the channel guide on the screen. I shook my head. Whatever you want. Birthday girl's choice. I blushed. Surprise me? Johnny glanced at the television and then grinned sheepishly. Ireland are playing in the Six Nations Championship in a bit. Shrugging, he added, I was planning on watching it. Then put it on, I encouraged. His brows shot up. You don't mind? It's your television, I replied. Why would I mind? If you get bored, just tell me, he muttered as he flicked on the match, attention immediately glued to the screen. And we can put on something else. When the Irish senior team marched onto the pitch for the national anthem, Johnny's entire face lit up. His eyes danced with excitement as he tapped his hand against the couch. He looked very young and adorable. I waited for Johnny to pick up his sandwich before reaching for mine and taking a small bite. The taste of ham and melted cheese dripped on my tongue, and I moaned before hurrying to devour it. I'm going to be there one day, Johnny stated, tilting his head in the direction of the telly. One of these days, it's going to be me, Shannon. I know, I replied, believing every word. Biting down on my lip, I turned to face him and said, Don't forget about me when you're a rich and famous rugby player. You never know, he said with a smirk. I might take you with me so you can cheer me on in the stands. Please do. Please take me away with you. You're very sure of yourself, I said instead. You can wear my number and shout, Johnny, Johnny, from the stands. He chuckled before settling back down to watch the game. Don't tempt me. Sitting on the couch in his parents' living room with a roaring fire crackling and the rain pelting down outside the huge bay window, I felt my body slowly relaxing as I tried to follow the match. I wasn't forcing conversation to break uncomfortable silences, because there wasn't any. In this moment, being here with him was as easy as breathing. It was an odd reaction to being in such close proximity to Johnny. I was enjoying being with him. He didn't push me to talk, and I liked that. He just sat beside me with a huge cushion between us and Suki at our feet as he barked orders at the television set. When Johnny stretched his legs out on top of the coffee table, I waited for a good 10 minutes before attempting to do the same, only to fail epically when my toes barely touched the corner before clattering to the floor. Chuckling softly, Johnny reached forward and dragged the table closer to the couch. Embarrassed, I kept my feet firmly on the ground. Less than a minute later, Johnny reached over, lifted my legs, and placed them on the table. I turned to look at him, but his attention was back on the screen. Every once in a while, Johnny would pause the match to put some coal or blocks in the fire before settling back down on the couch. After the third time he did it, I pulled the cushion out of his way when he sat back down and held it to my chest. By the end of the match, our shoulders were touching. I didn't move away. He was big and solid and warm, and I liked the feel of him beside me. A little while later, when my eyes began to droop, he lifted his arm, and I didn't even flinch when it came down around my shoulder. Instead, I nestled my cheek against his side and closed my eyes, allowing myself to drift off to sleep without an ounce of fear in my heart, because it couldn't exist inside of me, not when this boy had his arm around me.
Chapter 38. Johnny. It was her birthday. Today was Shannon's 16th birthday, and she was spending it with me. I was glad. How crazy was that? This girl who before Christmas was a total stranger, and since Christmas, I couldn't imagine going through a day not thinking about. I didn't want to give her back. Something inside of me told me that if I did, she would return with another bruise. At least if I kept her here with me, she'd be safe. There was something very fucked up about her life. Something that made me want to snatch her away and take her with me, wherever that may be. I wasn't stupid. I knew someone had put those marks on her face, and her thighs, and her arms, and I was fairly fucking sure that if I stripped the girl bare, I'd find plenty more. I didn't know what was happening, or who was bullying her, but I'd figure it out. Straight out asking her was out of the question, though. She was so goddamn guarded that it was almost impossible to penetrate the walls she built up around herself. I thought I might be doing a good job, but if I pushed too hard, too fast, then she would retreat back in her shell. I wanted to smash that fucking shell and the bastards responsible for making her hide there in the first place. She was lovely. Fucking lovely. She didn't need to be hiding any of her shine behind those bleeding shutters. Shannon shivered then, and the moment distracted me. It was gone 10 at night, and she hadn't opened her eyes once since falling asleep earlier this afternoon. Shh, I whispered when she whimpered in her sleep. I didn't even try to stop myself from stroking her hair. I was beyond help when it came to her. I was beyond fucking stopping. Everything inside of me was shifting, honing in on this tiny girl. Nuzzling her cheek against my thigh, Shannon nestled closer, curling up in the smallest ball I'd ever seen a person of her age contort their body into. Like the obsessive freak I was, I allowed my gaze to land on her bruised cheekbone for the millionth time tonight. I knew I shouldn't look at it. It made my body thrum with rage, and still I couldn't stop myself. I stared at the mark on her face until I was sufficiently filled with enough anger to take down an entire village, and then I turned my attention to the bruises on her thighs. My phone vibrated in my pocket then, and the sensation pulled me from my murderous thoughts. Pulling my phone out, I stared at the screen, not recognising the number flashing in front of my eyes. Careful not to wake Shannon, I slid out from beneath her and waited for her to settle back down. Putting off my hoodie, I draped it over her bare legs and then slipped out of the room to take a call. Yeah? I said when I was standing at the hallway. How's she doing? Joey Lynch's voice came down the line. She's asleep, I replied, keeping my tone low, because if she woke up and asked to go home, I honestly didn't know what I would do. I couldn't refuse her, but I certainly didn't want her to. She's been out all day. Good, he replied with a sigh. She needed it. What's going on, Lynch? Moving from the front door, I yanked it open and stepped into the cold night air. The fuck's happening to your sister? I already told you, he snapped. Ask her. I'm asking you, I snarled. I'll be at yours in 5 minutes, was all Joy replied before cutting the call and leaving me as clueless as ever. Furious at the complete loss, I paced the hallway, knowing that I needed to get a handle on myself, but not finding the restraint to do so. Exactly 5 minutes later, a small knock came from the other side of the front door. Like the raging lunatic I was standing there waiting for him. Yanking the door open, I opened my mouth, ready to lose my shit on Joey Lynch, when Shannon's voice came from behind me. Joey, she said in a sleepy voice as she hovered in the living room doorway. I moved to go to her, to tell her to go to my room and stay there, but her brother intercepted her before I could. It's time to go, Shan, Joey announced. It is. Her eyes widened in panic for the briefest moment before switching to resignation. Okay. Yeah, he exhaled a heavy breath. Ma'am needs a hand with the kids. She can stay, I heard her say. I looked to Shannon and added, You can stay. No, we need to go, Joey stated as he wrapped a protective arm around Shannon's shoulder and walked her out of my house. Thanks for your help, Kavanagh. Agitated, I followed after them both. Thanks, Johnny, Shannon whispered, looking back at me with the sad eyes as her brother led her outside. For everything. Shannon, you don't have to. Come on, Shan, Joey interrupted me by saying, We need to go home. Is Ma'am okay? Shannon asked when her brother walked her around to the passenger side and pulled open the door. She'll be fine, Joey told her. But we need to go home. I had no fucking clue why my legs moved towards the passenger side of the car. That's what happened. Feeling helpless, I watched as her brother bundled her into the passenger seat before rounding the car to the driver's side. Bye, Johnny, Shannon whispered as Joey started the engine. She moved to close the car door, but my hand snaked out, stopping her from closing it. She looked up at me with those big blue eyes. Stay with me, Shannon. I can keep you safe. Bye, Shannon, I told her instead, and with a reluctance that bordered on regret, I closed the door. The tires of her brother's car skidded with the force he tore out my driveway. Standing in the pouring rain, I watched him take her away from me.
Chapter 39. Bad news and worse news. Shannon. Are you feeling it too? Joey bit out, hands gripping the wheel with such force it turned his knuckles white as we drove away from Johnny Kavanagh's house. Feeling what? I strangled out. Joey looked me dead in the eye and made me feel a little less alone in my disgrace when he said, "Relief." I nodded, hating myself for even thinking it, but I felt it, and so did he. "Is she okay?" I croaked out when words found me again. Joey nodded stiffly. "Supposed to be." "Is that what happened?" I whispered, feeling tears prickle my eyes as disgust and self-hatred took over. "Was she in the hospital all weekend and we didn't know?" Again, my brother nodded stiffly. "Oh, Joey," I sobbed. "She was alone." "She had him," Joey bit out, jaw clenched. "He was with her, and he is home now." "What are we going to do?" I asked, needing him to have the answers. I didn't. "Joe?" "I don't know," he finally choked out, voice cracking. "I don't know what to do anymore, Shannon." "It's okay," I forced myself to say. "You don't have to know. You're only 18. "I can't be there, Shan," he finally said, face awash with guilt. "I can't live like this anymore." "I know," I breathed, feeling faint hearing those words come out of his mouth. I'd heard those words before. From Darren. "I think we should consider what Aoife said," Joey added, voice thick with emotion. "What about what Aoife said?" I choked out, horrified. "Calling this in?" "You must be joking," I deadpanned. Joey looked at me with guilty eyes, but he didn't respond. "I am not going into care," I spat, feeling betrayed. "You're fine. You'll get to live your own life and walk away. I will be put in a home." "Shannon, she was talking to me last night about my future, and she made a lot of sense." "Your future," I deadpanned. Joey groaned loudly. "Not just me, Shannon. All of us. I can't believe you would even think it after what happened to Darren," I screamed, losing all grasp on my emotions. "How could you think about doing that to us, Joey? My father terrorised me, battered me. I lived in constant fear. But he never touched me like that. He never raped me, which is exactly what happened to Darren repeatedly for months and months, over and over until they almost killed him. I read the reports years after it happened. I knew all about the surgeries he had to have to repair the damage those bastards caused him. And now Joey was contemplating risking it. Go back. Turn the car around and go back to him. Go back to Johnny. Tell him. Tell him and let him help you. He told you he would. No, you idiot, he can't help you. No one can. Your own brother's given up on you." "If you want to go, then go," I screamed as hot tears poured down my cheeks. "Go off and leave us. Go be with Aoife and have a wonderful life together. I'll protect the boys." "You can't even protect yourself," Joey roared. "I'm doing that, Shannon. Me. I'm the only one trying to soften the fucking blows and they just keep coming." "Then maybe you and Dad will both get lucky and he'll finish me off next time," I hissed as a huge sob racked through me. "It'll save you the worry and him the energy." "Don't fucking say that, Shannon," Joey bellowed, slamming his hand on the steering wheel. "Why not?" I strangled out between gasps. "It's the truth." "Shannon, breathe," Joey commanded in a softer tone as he reached over and rubbed my back. "Take a breath." I couldn't. I could not fucking breathe. Leaning forward, I desperately tried to drag air into my lungs. "Good girl," Joey coaxed as he steered with one hand and rubbed my back with the other. Nice and slow. By the time we made it back to the house, I'd managed to calm myself down to the point where I could actually drag air into my lungs. For several minutes, we just sat outside the house, staring at our father's car parked in the driveway. I did not want to go into that house, and neither did Joey. We were both completely screwed. No, you're screwed. He'll be fine. Shannon. Joey's voice broke through my thoughts. I didn't look at him. I didn't respond either. Are you listening to me? He asked. I nodded weakly, keeping my eyes trained on the car. The next time he puts his hand on you, I want you to fight back. I stiffened. Are you listening to me? I nodded. If he touches you again, Shannon, then I want you to grab the sharpest knife you can, and I want you to plunge it into his heart. Sniffling, I turned to look at him. You're not coming back, are you? Joey just stared at me, eyes filled with tears. I can't, he whispered as a tear rolled down his cheek. If I go back inside that house, I'll kill them both. I watched his face, registered the truth he was telling me, and then I unfastened my seatbelt and opened the door. Bye, Joey, I whispered numbly, and then I climbed out and walked inside. You've been listening to Binding 13, Part 1 by Chloe Walsh, narrated by Matthew Forsyth and Jacqueline Milne, published by Whole Story Quest Audiobooks, an imprint of W.F. Howes Limited. This work is copyrighted 2018 Chloe Walsh. This recording is copyrighted 2019 W.F. Howes Limited.
Audible hopes you've enjoyed this program.